Good afternoon, everybody. Can we settle down now and start the meeting? Thank you. Madam Mayor couldn't attend the meeting today due to family illness, so I'm chairing the meeting today. Can I invite Councillor Turner to make an announcement of one of the achievements that we've had in the Council?
Mr Deputy Mayor, thank you. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate our markets and creative economy teams and the School of Art, Design and Architecture at the University of Huddersfield for winning the award for Innovation of the Year at this year's annual National Association of British Market Authorities Conference. This collaboration brought a new initiative in Huddersfield's indoor market called Temporary Contemporary, a project that converts vacant stalls into contemporary art gallery spaces. The Temporary Contemporary project started as a pilot that both supports the university to showcase the talent and creativity they have to offer, as well as attracting new audiences to the market. It's great to see that Kirklees is being recognised for being brave in supporting new cultural approaches. This award demonstrates that by working with our partners, investing in our places, we are able to deliver innovative projects such as this for our residents. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I also say that we are having a break at 7 o'clock for 15 minutes as usual. And you want to make an announcement? Yeah.
Good evening, members. I would just like to acknowledge that some members of the Youth Council are in the building today and are attending the meeting, so I'm sure that Council would join me in welcoming them to the meeting. And on a more serious note, what I would like to do is just to remind members that at Agenda Item 8, the Council Budget Strategy Update, there is a Section 106 notice at the beginning of the report. This means that if you're here today and you are 2 months or more in arrears with your council tax payments, then you should, as soon as practicable after the beginning of the meeting, disclose that to the meeting and not vote on any budget or council tax calculation or recommendation or decision which might affect the making of such a calculation. You are not stopped from speaking on the matter, but you may not vote. Please declare now if that applies to you.
Thank you for that. Are there any apologies? Councillor Shokal.
Deputy Mayor, can I congratulate you first? You're chairing your first meeting in this council chamber. Yeah, thank you. I hope you get. I hope you get support from all cross-party members. Yeah, thank you. I got two apology. Councillor Kathy Scott and Councillor Judith Hughes. Both are illness, yeah, region, yeah. And you told the chamber Councillor Gwen Lowe can't make it today because of the mom's illness. 1 or 2 of our members are arriving late. They are stuck in the traffic coming from Dewsbury. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shokal. Councillor Patrick.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. We've just got apologies from Councillor Donald Firth.
Thank you. Councillor Ellison.
Apologies from Councillor Cooper.
Thank you. Any other apologies? No? Sorry. Oh, sorry.
Apologies from Councillor Gemma Wilson.
Thank you. Can I move that the minutes of the meeting of Council held on the 12th of September 2018 be approved as a correct record? Is that seconded?
I second the minutes. Thank you.
Can I have a show of hands? That is carried. Thank you. Members who have any interest should disclose their interest now. Is there any interest? No? Thank you. Item 5, petitions from member of the council. Is there any petitions from members? No? Thank you. Item 6, to receive a deputation or a petition from members of the public. Thank you. Yeah, okay. Welcome to the meeting. Please can you introduce yourself and the subject matter of your deputation? You have 5 minutes. Present your deputation, please. Thank you.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor, Madam CEO and councillors. My name is Caroline Goodwill, and I'm here just as a very concerned individual about my local area. So tell me when I can start. Okay. Right. For a moment, I want you to consider your favourite top 5 classic British authors. Shakespeare has to be number 1, then probably Charles Dickens, and then maybe Jane Austen. But Charlotte and Emily Bronte have to be well up there on that list. I saw a headline in an old newspaper. It said, "More Bronte than Haworth." It was talking about Red House, former museum at Gummersall. This Grade 2 star listed building, part dating back to the 1660s, is a heritage site of national importance. It has massive links to Charlotte Bronte, Mary Taylor, a very independent lady, precursor to the suffragettes, the Luddites, John Wesley, a lot of heritage. Haworth makes an international industry out of the Brontes. I'm sorry, but Kirklees Council couldn't even run a museum. So what is happening with Red House? Employees were told when it was closed it would be sold off. Nevertheless, the asset transfer process went ahead. The 3 asset transfers were turned down. One, we were told, missed only by a single point. No discussion. A formal complaint was made about the process, but it was not upheld. No appeal was allowed. I thought murderers were allowed an appeal. Not much happened then, because it came into the community bid to buy. And the people concerned got in touch with the no longer chair of the disbanded Friends of Red House. So nothing was much heard about that, because they'd been disbanded by 2 years. Next, in August, we were told it was up for sale by auction, with a guide price of over £1 million. And we heard on the grapevine that a number of bids had been made, and one was over £1 million, but it was turned down. Why? Well, then we heard that a stop was put on the sale because Kirklees Council were applying for planning to put a road through the heritage site, through the gold medal award-winning gardens. Well, there we are. It will then be torn apart and sold off, not by open auction, we don't know how, probably sealed bids. Red House isn't just a local heritage site, it is of national importance. Would Stratford-on-Avon sell off Anne Hathaway's cottage for a hotel? Or Jane Austen's house in Bath be sold off for apartments? Or Willie Wordsworth's become an Airbnb? I don't think so. What if Red House was not in North Kirklees, but it was in HD1? Wow, that would be good, wouldn't it? It could be at the heart of your new 45 million cultural centre. Wouldn't that be good? You could have literary festivals, theatre productions, school visits and weddings. It could even do a remake of the film Shirley, because that's long overdue. 45 million for a pseudo-cultural centre. That sounds an obscene amount of money. Wouldn't it be a good idea for at least some of that money to be rolled out across the whole of Kirklees on some real, to be spent on some real heritage sites? Have you any idea what it's like living in North Kirklees and Cleckheaton and Spen? We feel disenfranchised. We are treated with such disrespect. Our heritage buildings are asset stripped and destroyed. Remember Whitcliffe Mount School? 4,000 people
You've
signed
got
to save.
30 seconds left.
4,000 people signed to save that. We had a buyer. All it needed was a signature. That school was crushed to dust. That's called vandalism. Action involving deliberate destruction of public or private property. I make a plea to the new leader of the council. You know how important our local heritage is in North Lees Council. Batley is full of wonderful heritage buildings. Once gone, they can't be replaced.
Thank you. Time's over. Thank you very much.
You're very strict, sir. Could I just add, very short, right, very strictly, I would just say it's no coincidence that Dewsbury, Batley and Cleckheaton Spen are setting
Thank you very much. Thank you.
their own town councils.
Councillor Graham,
against the
thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. We've heard everything. Thank you very much. Thank you. Your time's over. Councillor Turner, can you respond, please?
For Red House to be reopened to look at the situation. It's a
Can
national
you
heritage.
let Councillor Turner to respond, please? Thank you. Do you want to wait here? Do you want to wait here? Thank you.
Can I call you Caroline? Caroline, thank you very much for coming along. Did I? All right. Okay. Thank you very much for coming along and making a very passionate speech in your support of Red House. Unfortunately, the decision to close Red House was taken in 2016, as you well know. Before that decision was taken, which wasn't taken lightly, we approached everybody, including the Bronze Society, various other organisations who may want to take it over. No one wanted the building. We did try really, really hard. Nobody could see the value in the building as a museum. Currently, the process is ongoing. It will be going at some point into auction, you're quite right. But that process will probably take now until next year. As I said, we didn't take the decision to close it lightly. But the problem being is, it was costing £15.05 per head, per visitor in subsidy. Unfortunately, given the state of council's finances up and down the country, not just unique to us, we cannot afford to spend £15.05 per person who wishes to visit Red House. Unfortunately, as I say, the finances simply don't stack up. So unfortunately, it is now closed. It will go to auction. We will take it to auction to make sure we get the best price for the council, which will be reinvested in the council services. Okay? Thank you.
No, there's no response on this. Thank you very much for your petition. You can go now. Thank you. Next petition, please. Yeah, welcome to the meeting. Please, can you introduce yourself and the subject matter of your deputation? You have 5 minutes. You can start now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We are here on behalf of Friends of Mill Lane, who are representing the parents and pupils of Mill Lane School that is situated in Batley. For those of you that may be unaware or unfamiliar where our school is located, it's just not far from Bradford Road, where Frontier is. It's just the back up Mill Lane Hill. We currently have great concerns over the current situation into two factors in and around Mill Lane School, where our school is situated. Firstly, it's the excessive speed of the vehicles travelling down Mill Lane School. It's becoming an increasing problem. What we find with Mill Lane in particular is a feeder road from linking Bradford Road to Leeds Road. So the number of vehicles presently coming up and down that road has increased, we feel, just from a visual point of view, but in terms of their speed. Presently, there's no traffic camera measures in place to manage or monitor the speed of the vehicles along this road. And there has been numerous occasions where parents have witnessed cars clearly being driven over the 30 miles an hour limit towards the school during the drop-off and pick-up times. Just to kind of give you a bit of statistics in terms of miles per hour, if a child is hit at 40 miles per hour, they only have a 20% survival rate. If it's 30, it's an 80%, and if it's 25, they've got a 95% survival rate. We feel that vehicles being driven irresponsibly near the school risk the lives of the children and many of the others, and it should not be tolerated. Another concern is the location of the school, which is located on a bend. Children going to and from the school are not always visible because of this, and as the vehicles are being driven at speed, there is a real danger of a serious incident occurring. There's also a secondary steep hill called Wood Lane that meets Mill Lane Road, and this road runs directly in front of the school gates. The parents and children have to cross there. So not only do they have to contend with Mill Lane, they've also got to contend with cars coming up and down Wood Lane as well, which does get very, very congested because of the narrowing of the street and the current parking along the road. The second factor that we feel contributes to parents and children being vulnerable during these busy times is the absence of our school patrol. At the moment, our school crossing patrol has been absent for nearly a year now, and in that time we've not had a replacement. So it just means that parents are having to navigate on their own back while looking after their children and navigate two very, very busy roads as well as a blind bend. In particular, we've got parents with prams as well that really suffer when they're trying to navigate the bend as crossing the road. As I mentioned before, the location of the school is being on a bend and adjacent to a steep road has a real impact for the visibility for both the drivers and pedestrians when crossing the road. We feel the implementation of school crossing patrol would greatly reduce the risk of any incident occurring, as they're clearly visible and through their powers they're able to stop the flow of traffic so pedestrians can cross safely. What we ask is that school crossing patrol service provided during the school drop-off and pick-up times so that we can feel safe and secure when dropping our children off. We also ask that traffic calm measures are implemented on Mill Lane and Wood Lane to help reduce the danger of excessive speed. We're aware of a road safety campaign such as the Bobby Coleman Trust, which was set up after a boy was killed after leaving school. Through their campaign, they've implemented a 20-mile-an-hour zone in and around the school, and they've also implemented other measures such as guardrails, 2 flashing speed cameras, 2 pelican crossings with raised speed bumps, and posts at either side of their road to stop people parking. All have proven to be very successful in making that road safer around that school. They're now trying to implement Bobby zones outside all of Liverpool's primary schools, and the hope is to extend it to all UK schools. We asked some of our children about how they felt sometimes going to school, and these are some of the responses that we had. One child said, "We feel sad when cars go really fast because they could hurt somebody. I feel like drivers are silly and selfish because they speed, and there's a school. There is even signs that tell them, but they simply dismiss it." Another child said, "I feel worried and terrified because cars might swoop down or hurt or kill one of us." All we ask is that the Council take serious consideration in regards to the issues we've mentioned today. We would like to submit a petition that has been signed over 100 parents supporting the implementation of a school crossing patrol and also the additional traffic calm measures on Mill Lane. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you very much. Councillor Medder.
Thank you. It gives me no pleasure to say that this is the situation up and down our district and nationally, and no matter what measures we take, whether I park a camper van in front of the school to say to parents, "Don't park here," they will just park on top. So we are taking this seriously. We know we've taken it seriously because there is a school crossing patrol who the individual's been on long-term sick. We don't have any mobile school crossing patrols. We are considering, and we can make this possible, where we can provide the school and parents with marshal training to help them ensure they are crossing safely. That's an interim measure. For your information, we have had no reports of speeding, running traffic logged in the last 2 years. That's what I have from the police. One personal injury collision recorded on the roads in the vicinity of the school in the last 10 years. loss of control on a motorcycle downhill after the school on Mill Lane, slight injury. So at the moment, there are no interventions. However, in order to ensure you that we take all deputations, especially concerning our young people, seriously, I'm willing to take this issue to local issues committee, and we can deal with it from there. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for your deputation. Thank you. Next deputation, please. Yeah, welcome to the meeting. Please can you introduce yourself and subject matter of your deputation. You have 5 minutes. You can start now. Thank you.
Councillors, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. My name is June Jones and I'm a member of Unite Community. We have a branch for Huddersfield.
Can you use your mic, please?
All right, yeah.
This one, thank you.
My name is June Jones. I'm a member of Unite Community. We have a branch in Huddersfield and Bradford. And it's made up of volunteers who are people like me, pensioners, people on low pay, students, and so on. And together we decide on the issue that we're going to, be active on. Now, we have a regular... Sorry, I'm losing my voice. Yeah? I'd like to say we very much welcome the motion on universal credit, which is on the agenda tonight. I hope you will actually get to it, that you will take it, and I do fervently hope and urge you to pass it. We have a regular stall outside Huddersfield Job Centre to help and support people who are having problems with benefits. We've been there now for 4 or 5 years, regularly every week. Beyond a very basic level, we often signpost people to Citizens Advice Bureau and to the Kirklees Benefits Advice Service because we are not experts. We've just got a very basic knowledge. We've had this weekly stall for a number of years, and since Universal Credit was rolled out in Kirklees in November 2017, we are seeing greater numbers of claimants who are facing much more severe problems with debt, mental health, fear of eviction, hunger and homelessness. The basic idea of simplifying the benefit system by bringing 6 benefits into one, it sounds like a good idea. It was supposed to be a reform, but in practice it is proving to be almost totally unworkable. Before, if people had a problem with one benefit, they at least had the other benefits to see them through. Now, if there's a problem, they lose everything. The people we see are often on the breadline and they're going on to universal credit, and then they find they have to wait for, well, I think the minimum now is 5 weeks. Maybe some people are lucky enough to get it a bit earlier. The government had to bring it down a week. They can take out an advance payment, and when we talk to people, most of the people we see are in debt already, and they do opt to take out the advance payment to cover them over that period until they actually get their money. Then the money has to be paid back. They can pay it back in a year or 6 months, and I'm sure most people opt to pay it back over 12 months. And this then aggravates their problem of debt. Information is coming to light that on universal credit, half of single parents and around 2/3 of working age couples will lose as much as £200 a month. That is, £2,400 a year, and these, remember, are among the very, very poorest. And the Trussell Trust just this week has warned that this is going to mean a significant increase in the use of food banks. This system was supposed to support and motivate people into work, where they then would be able to deal with problems of poverty. In fact, it's doing the reverse. People are in low-paid, insecure jobs with very little hope at the moment of getting out of poverty. They're trapped because most of these workers depend on tax credits. The system of sanctioning is extended to the workplace, so there's no respite, even with work. It's punishing and scapegoating the people who need the most help, the sick, the mentally ill, the disabled, the poorest and the most vulnerable.
We've got 30 seconds now.
Among us. Welfare benefits were originally introduced as a safety net for people falling on hard times. Today that safety net hardly exists. Recently, I've nearly finished, the government has tacitly admitted problems with universal credit when they announced they'll give to charities money to support people with their applications. We think this money should go to local authorities. For example, here in Kirklees, the welfare benefits team do an excellent job.
Thank you very much for that. Your time's up.
Okay.
Councillor Turner, can you respond to this, please? Thank you.
June and your colleagues, thank you very much for coming along and offering your support for the motions later on today's agenda. I don't want to say too much because obviously hopefully we'll have a debate on this coming up later. However, I can assure you that probably most people in this chamber have had residents contact them trying to sort this out for them. It hasn't worked. The government's recognised it hasn't worked. It's still not working, yet they still continue to roll it out. Personally, I think we should halt it until we iron out all the problems and it's rolled out properly and doesn't put people into poverty, which it was designed not to do. And I totally support your submission this evening, and as I said, hopefully we'll discuss this later on this afternoon. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much for your Deputy Chair. Next. Right. Can I welcome you to the meeting? Please, can you introduce yourself and the subject matter of your deputation? You have 5 minutes, and you can start now. Thank you.
Councillors, thank you for your time today. We are here to talk about the A637 and issues of safety on the road in Flockton. We both walk to school along our busy village road many times.
As babies in pushchairs.
Holding hands with our parents as toddlers on our way to nursery.
And now we're grown up, out on our own to catch the bus to school.
And do you know what? This road is super scary. The pavements are narrow and wonky or just not there at all. Every day there's cars whizzing past, and worse still, thundering lorries hurtling up behind you. And the zebra crossing, it's like you're invisible. Even when you're standing there, the cars just ignore it. Trying to walk across this road anywhere is just crazy. Please, can you help us?
Older people in our village have been trying to sort this out forever, like they keep saying since 1931. In my house, my mum has gone on about this for years. On the 3rd of May, a lorry crashed into the back of her car just outside school. Scary enough, but for that to happen with a 4-week-old baby in the back, it must have been terrifying, especially since, as I came to understand later, I was that baby. After being rushed to hospital in an ambulance, I didn't wake up for a full 3 hours. Turns out, thankfully, and to everybody's relief, I was just having a very long nap. But the sad truth is, whilst I was napping, further up the village, on our road, that same day, in a terrible accident, somebody actually lost their life. Please help us and listen to the adults. I know they can go on a bit, but they are just trying to make us feel safe.
It's nearly 14 years now, and I am the mum of that baby. She failed to say it was in 2005. And I'm standing here now because my wake-up call came in the form of Kath Middleton on my doorstep on Boxing Day, passionately appealing for signatures for her petition in support of a bypass for Flockton after she'd heard about funding from the government for villages just like ours. And I'm sure most of you are sat in this chamber today because you too at some time were inspired to action by something about which you felt really, really strongly. And to be honest, when Kath turned up, it made me feel a bit ashamed that I hadn't championed this cause earlier, because I had gone on and on and on about it at home. We're not here to antagonise, to be negative or denigrate the work that's already been done or is being done, but we are here to work together and appeal to you to please relate to our petition.
We don't need to give you a history lesson about the calls there have been for a bypass for Flockton since 1931. But if you do want to find out more, it's all available on our website. But what we are here this evening to talk about is how changes in road usage since then have impacted on our village, making the demands even more urgent than ever. Vehicle numbers have increased, and the size and speed of those vehicles has too. All around Flockton, the ever-growing towns, the villages, the industrial developments have encouraged more and more traffic onto the roads, which is obviously of clear economic benefit to our area. However, this has left Flockton, sited on the A637, part of the MRN, high and dry, experiencing a host of problems for which the road isn't fit and apparently unsuitable for any further improvements. As was said at a recent meeting between Flockton residents and Councillor McBride and Liz Twitchett, we are struggling to identify, within the boundaries of the highway that we've got available, what we can do, and we don't have the answers. As a group, we've thought this problem through, with the added benefits of local knowledge and emotional investment, and we've also struggled to find suitable answers, hence our appeals since January of this year to our local councillors, yourselves, our MP and the Secretary of State for Transport. Our conclusion as a group is that a bypass, or a small relief road in actuality, would be a single solution to a multitude of problems, making Flockton a much safer place to be.
30 seconds.
This is our key vision for the future, so we ask for your support to champion to our cause at local and national level, as our hope is that funding will become available for just this type of situation, as Chris Grayling suggested that he would when he met with myself and other members of the group here in February 2018. And in the meantime, as was recognised by Jackie Gedman when she kindly joined us for a morning rush hour walk through the village, we hope we can all continue to work on a holistic approach to safety in Flockton, encompassing safety for our school children, the proposed 20-mile-per-hour speed limit and the revised TRO for the road. All of these measures, if they're done correctly, can have the potential ease the situation in Flockton a little, but it's no means our end goal. I'll just pass over very quickly to Charlotte to finish. Thank you.
So in conclusion, please do take some time to look into the detail we haven't had time to bring you this evening, and through doing so appreciate that the passion, strength of feeling about this road is real, it's reasonable and it's valid, and it's representative of the views of nearly 5,000 people who've signed our petition so far. Whilst we do appreciate all the help and support from the many
Thank you very much.
So far,
Thank you. Thank you.
Done,
yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Meda. Councillor Meda, can you respond? Or is it Peter?
Thank you very much for that very impressive presentation. I was very impressed by the attitude and the approach of the local residents when I spent a morning, 3 hours with in a dialogue, which was very useful because we were sharing the problem. And we're now working on the problem, what we might do. I am not saying we're going to provide a relief road. I don't think we've got the money. I did explain the reason for that. But we will be taking actions and local measures, which will include travel plans for the school. You know, that is really important. Also, some highway measures on signings, which could be an improvement. Longer term, I think there is a solution, but it's a very longer term, and it may not involve a development there at all. It may be north of there, the North Kirklees Orbit Road, which will just offset the problem. But the problem hasn't gone away. I'm acutely aware of that. I was aware of it 50 years ago when I first came to Kirklees, as you remember what I said to you. There was a guy there who was telling me about the problem, and he taught my daughter, and she's 50 now, and so that puts it in some sort of perspective. It's real, it's a problem, we're trying to resolve it. But believe me, we have very comparable problems in bottlenecks elsewhere. We have them in Lockwood, we have them Lockwood Bar, we have them on junctions and Leeds Road and so on. When we get the funding, we will try and resolve the problem. But in the meantime, we are doing something which will be hopefully relevant, working with you.
Thank you very much for your petition. Yeah. No response. Thank you very much. Thank you. Next. Yeah, welcome to the meeting. Please can you introduce yourself and the subject matter of your petition. You have 5 minutes to start. Thank you. You can start now.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Stephanie Tague and I'm a retail... Yes. My name is Stephanie Tague and I'm a retail business owner based in Cleckheaton Town Centre. I'm here this evening to present a petition opposing the potential charges to Cleckheaton's public car parks as set out in the Council's 2017-2018 budget. The petition contains 8,711 signatures from local businesses and the community. As traders, we've already seen a decrease in footfall over recent years. With the growing use of the internet, more people are shopping online. Add to this seasonal shopping, summer holidays and winter months, the draw of large retail parks and even more an incentive to shoppers. We're also aware of the difficulties that neighbouring towns are experiencing. Limited free public car parking and inadequate public transport have been contributors to their decline in attracting new shops and businesses from opening in the towns. Cleckheaton has over 100 independent retail businesses, 6 banks and building societies, 3 churches, a health centre, a memorial park and a fantastic and beautiful town hall. Cleckheaton is much more than just a shopping town. It's a place for people to meet friends, enjoy music and social events, to volunteer and take part in good causes, learn new skills and to take refuge with problems. Cleckheaton is a community. Our shops and their owners offer a personal and caring service, with many of them signed up for dementia-friendly businesses. When needed staff, we always look to employ locally, and a large number, myself included, employ young people. Our churches offer much-needed community groups for fitness and wellbeing activities of all ages, respite for carers, have time for themselves and to help put events on that bring people together. The Town's Chamber of Trade work alongside many of the businesses in the centre, where the owners often give up their own time to spare to promote and create regular events and activities, including one of the largest and best attended Christmas light switch-ons events in Kirklees, an annual folk festival and a witch hunt. Our town hall provides an excellent and helpful drop-in service for council and general issues, and it plays host to some of the most fantastic amateur dramatic productions and tribute acts, and is home to the Cleckheaton U3A, the University of the Third Age, which offers regular weekly courses in everything from Tai Chi to flower arranging, all helping to bring new people into Cleckheaton. In the current climate, our high streets are already becoming an endangered species, and Cleckheaton is not immune to this. Our target audience is getting older, our customers have less disposable income. Paying out more daily just to shop will inevitably have an impact. The town's aim is simple: to encourage more people of all ages to visit, to shop, to eat and use our facilities. We want to be able to continue to offer these services to local workers during lunch breaks, to encourage young mums and dads to shop locally, to offer the personal service for our elderly customers, and to continue to organise events that bring the community together. So any decision which forces or restricts people in visiting Cleckheaton would be extremely detrimental, and not just to the survival of the businesses, but to the many people in the community who have taken time and effort in bringing to build Cleckheaton to what it is today. We hope by presenting this deputation now, you will reconsider your plans and not implement car parking charges in Cleckheaton, allow the town the chance to see more people visit and to thrive. I appreciate your time and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for your deputation. Councillor Mather.
Thank you, Stephanie. I personally want our town centres to be visited, to be places where people want to spend their time and use our facilities. I want the footfall to increase. I do recognise, and I have known for some time, that businesses in Cleckheaton have been raising concerns ever since the suggestion was made to review parking charges beyond this current chargeable towns of Huddersfield, Dewsbury and Holmfirth, where they have to pay. As you know, at the moment, all that's taking place is discussions with myself on the many options that are available, and as yet we have made no formal decision. But I do know one thing for sure, that what we do have in Cleckheaton is that some of the best maintained car parks, which provide free parking for some commuters to car share and those that go out and commute to Leeds and Bradford, it does leave me thinking, I wonder how many of them actually spend anything to contribute to the local economy. But as I've said, no decision has been made. We're just having discussions. And thank you for your petition, and I'll bear your deputation in mind. Thank you.
In accordance with the Council Procedure Rule 9(3), I direct that the subject matter of the petition be referred to the appropriate service director for investigation. Item 7. Is there another one? Item 7. Are there any questions by the member of the public? Welcome to the meeting. Please introduce yourself to members, stating your name and to whom your question is addressed to. And ask your question now, please. Thank you.
Caroline Goodwill, and my question is to Councillor Turner. Councillor Turner? Hi. I would like to ask you, could you give me more details about the road that's planned to be put through Red House site? Are you able to do that?
Councillor Turner.
And why? I don't know where it's going, but if it can become, if it can come in from Oxford Road, that's part of the question, sir.
Is it? Thank you, Councillor Turner.
There is a plan to dispose of a piece of land that will give access to the Red House, that will enhance its value. But it's a piece of land that is for sale. There are no plans at the moment to put on. It's a piece of land that is due for disposal.
Have you got supplementary?
I have got a supplementary.
Yeah.
Right. I would like to ask. You said you'd looked so carefully for someone to buy Red House. Is that correct? Did you say that previously when I gave my presentation?
Yes, we spoke to, and I can't remember, it's a while since now, I can't remember entirely, but we certainly spoke to the Bronze Society, who were not interested, various other heritage organisations. We spoke to everybody who may have had an interest from the heritage sector if they wanted to take it off our hands, and unfortunately nobody wished to do so.
So very strangely.
Thank you very much. Excuse me, you've had your 2 questions. So, no, one more, sorry. One more question, sorry about that. Carry on.
To ask, you had an asset transfer scheme that wanted to take over the building. and that was turned down by 1 point. No discussion, end of, walk away.
Thank you. Councillor Turner?
You're right, we invited expressions of interest for an asset transfer, and as you rightly point out, none of those applications met the criteria. Therefore, they weren't allowed to proceed to the next stage. And it's okay saying by missed by 1 point. I mean, that's close, I get that, but somewhere along the line you have to have a cut-off point. Whether they missed by 2 points or 3 points, there's a cut-off point. We follow the procedure in line with council policy, agreed by cabinet of this council, and we stuck to that policy. And therefore, unfortunately, none of the applications met the asset transfer policy.
Supplementary?
You weren't very clear about why we can't do a road from Oxford Road.
What we're doing is disposing of a piece of land. We have no planning application for a road. There's a piece of land for sale through the disposal programme of the council.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Next. Welcome to the meeting. Please introduce yourself to the member stating your name and whom your question is addressed to.
I'm Elaine Delaney. Currently, I'm the top of one side of we do appreciate the measures already put in place. However, as you'll understand, we are very, very passionate, and this is really important to us. So if we are waiting for funding, and we've talked about this, however far into the future, and as you can see, we've got the next generation lined up, can we be assured that Flockton will at least be on the agenda for that funding if criteria is suitable at that time? As with the recent funding announced by Chris Grayling, we felt we did fit the criteria, but we didn't seem to get on the table.
Councillor McBride.
Certainly be considered in terms of any future funding which may become available. I think what Mr. Grayling was talking about, not remotely did Flockton come within that criteria. So if he misrepresented it, I'm sure he did, because he's done that many times to me. However, any opportunity we get to use money to achieve that objective, I assure you we will do.
Okay, thank you, Councillor McBride. So can we ask that when Flockton didn't appear there, and obviously there was misunderstanding or it was difficult to understand what that funding was about, can we make sure that we're considered, because it's clearly Flockton is just being used as a traffic calming system in its own right, which we discussed as well. So it's just what we need to get across. But thank you, and thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Item 7, Council Budget Strategy Update 2019-2022. Councillor Turner.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, thank you. Can I start by thanking the Section 151 officer and his team for producing this very detailed report. Members will note that this year's report has been prepared in a slightly different format and is more user-friendly and easier to understand. And the detailed description of the current reserves found in Appendix B is a positive in helping both members and residents understand how the reserves are broken down and are allocated. As always at this time of year, we have to make some assumptions. We have to make some assumptions as to next year's funding package and the likely finances we will have available to us. There is still a lot of uncertainty around local government finances and how local authorities are to be funded both in the long and short term. Given these uncertainties, we have taken a pragmatic view on the assumptions that we have made when preparing the budget update. Given these uncertainties, we have built in as much flexibility as we can into the report, which is clearly the right thing to do at this time. And I'm happy that we have the skills and ability within the Council to be able to react to any changes and ensure our finances are as sound as possible given the current uncertainties. Mr. Deputy Mayor, what is clear is that local government funding is in crisis, with council after council issuing warnings about their ability to deliver much-needed local services. Now, I know some of those issuing warnings have been poorly managed by both officers and elected members. I have no sympathy with them. But I do have a great sympathy for those residents who have to suffer the consequences of the actions of elected members and officers. However, I don't believe that all those councils teetering on the financial edge have been badly run by officers and members. They have simply not had sufficient funding to meet the rising demand for services. I hope, but I'm not holding my breath, that the Chancellor in his budget later this month recognises that local government needs a well thought out, long-term, fair funding package that recognises the differing needs and demands of the different local authorities we have in the country, that will allow us to be more proactive rather than reactive, and will allow us to plan for future demands on services rather than be constantly surrounded by uncertainty about just how much money we are likely to have and where it's coming from. We have also included at the back of the report in Appendix H a couple of potential scenarios of the challenges we face over the next 3 years and how these might play out. Of course, these are based on the information we currently have and could and probably will change. But I think it's important for members to see that we are trying to horizon scan as best we can, given the uncertainties over funding levels and the economic outlook for the country. Mr Deputy Mayor, I move that the recommendations are set out in paragraph 7 of the report, page 9 of the agenda, be approved.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Is that seconded?
Mr Deputy Mayor, and reserve the right to reply.
Thank you, Councillor Pando. Are there any comments on this matter? Councillor Steve Hall? No, sorry, Councillor David Hall. Sorry.
The other one, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. I think it's important to stress that this is an important document that comes before us, which sets the background for next year's budget, and as such we need it to be accurate and we need it to be reflective of things at the moment. These things tend to start by rolling over what's happened in the current medium-term financial plan over into the next year with a few tweaks, and as Councillor Turner said, to make some assumptions and some best guesses as to where we might be next year. Officers say that the assumptions that are in the plan are more or less a middle path between being overly pessimistic and overly optimistic, which is probably the right way to go. However, the sum of the assumptions and the parameters that we put into this plan, the variance could be tens of millions of pounds over a plan even for 3 years, over the lifetime of the plan. So it's important that the assumptions that are in this plan are correct and the best we can come up with. And I would like some assurance from Councillor Turner that the Cabinet has looked into this in great detail and probed all these assumptions and challenged them. Most of these assumptions are best guesses. Is there enough flexibility in the plan to allow for a divergence in these assumptions as we get towards year 3 is my first question. Because the strength of the plan will be in its flexibility in order to survive over the next few years. Are the level of reserves sufficient? Talking about the general revenue account and the HRA, for instance, what's the optimal level for reserves in the HRA? It's assumed that by years 4 and 5, any surplus in the HRA will be rolled into reserves, which comes to over about 50 million by year 5. Is that an optimal level of reserve? Is it too high? Is it too low? What should we be aiming for? And the other question is, we were told about having a yearly bonus of up to 9 million from the MRP changes. Where is that reflected in this report? Because I understand it, a lot of that had to be put into reserves in order to provide for instance, a new waste contract in a few years' time. So where is that shown, please? Because I can't see any reference to it. In terms of capital, it also assumes rolling over a lot of capital projects, but it would be interesting to know, it would be helpful to know in that capital plan exactly what's been tweaked and exactly what's earmarked in that sum of money, or whether they're just enormous sums of money that have been put aside for future projects. Now, there's a lot of questions there. We have had an officer briefing as an opposition party, but you'll understand we haven't had time that the Cabinet gets to analyse this into any great detail. So there's a few questions I would like you to answer. But given that we're not privy to a lot of the information that's gone before the Cabinet, we don't feel able to support this at the current time.
Thank you, Councillor Hall.
Mr Deputy Mayor. Again, I think I'd like to start by thanking all the officers and our new 151 for the hard work that they've put in to this report. It's a summary document, a lot more density behind it, but I understand that they worked earlier this year to deliver this and put this before us as we see it now. I'm glad to see one or two things in here that have been beefed out, which is things like the risk register and the sensitivity analysis towards the end of the report. The risk register made for interesting reading, and I saw that we finally had the UK exiting from EU as an item on there. The item in that section are all relevant, but there are no scenarios explored as they have been in other authorities. 6 months out seems to be cutting it fine to take a more resident-focused approach to those risks. The sensitivity analysis is interesting in as much as it illustrates how wildly different our position might be in 2022, with arrangements of 36 million between the best and worst budget gaps of the 42 million and the 6 million. Please note that both of these figures are budget gaps, something that we need to monitor closely. On page 38 of the report, on the top line, we see what looks like a huge hike in business rates in the baseline in 2021, around 25 million. This is coming from the Conservative government's agreement to increase business rates retention from 50 to 75%. It sounds like good news. Wait though, here comes the other hand to take it away. In the same year, the Conservatives have promised to stop the public health grant, currently around the same amount of money, the theory being that it's a cost-neutral exercise. There are a couple of things that immediately spring to mind. If it's cost-neutral, why do it? And why do this as a blanket measure? If you know anything about health needs, you'll know that the demand on budgets is about to soar. I wish I could say the same for business rates in the region. We are, in effect, being made to gamble that business rates will keep pace with a local increase in demand on services. A bit further down, we see that there's a possibility of a cap on council tax of 2%, a cut in itself from 3%, which some people might like, some people might be pleased by that, but we need to explain to them that if interest rates rise, that will in turn be a further loss to this council's capacity. A report yesterday from Cambridge University highlighted that those authorities with the greatest need, that's us, have the weakest economies. We are among the worst placed to make a business rate swap work. Dr. Mayor Gray is quoted as saying, "The government needs to decide if it is content for more local authorities to go bust, in the way we have already seen in Northamptonshire this year." I think the other main thread I'd like to pull at in this report lies on pages 40 and 44. The economic resilience figure in any authority's finances is a subjective one. An educated guess, but a guess nonetheless. Going forward, I'd question the figure here and ask if we have any historical evidence to say that £30 million isn't enough to see us through in-year emergencies. That would see £7 million go back into accounts. I also looked for the, I like Councillor Hall, I looked for the 9.1 million from our debt restructure last year. Apparently, it's in the Treasury account, awaiting its fate. If Labour have any plans for it, we'd like them to share it with us, I think. On page 44, we have the strategic priorities. I'm glad that Spen Valley Leisure Centre is underway. Yay! Local Lib Dems fought hard to get everyone to agree that it was the right thing to do. I disagree that the vast sums proposed to be spent in Huddersfield and Dewsbury is the way to benefit residents across the authority. There are questions of feasibility, deliverability, timescales and final costs. This is not a budget strategy that the Lib Dems would endorse. It paints a picture for some residents in Kirklees that is unacceptable. It states that the Conservative government is cutting funding as hard as ever, finding new ways to ingrain equality. It says that the Labour administration is cutting spending on roads, in parks, on libraries, even though that there is money to be found in the accounts. And it says that the Labour administration is investing heavily in regeneration, but only in some areas. There's money around, but it's not for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Some right to reply? Councillor Pinnock. Sorry about
that'll be a... I'd like to address three issues within this budget strategy, three particular issues. And they're in the pages from page 38 onwards, if anybody wants to follow them. The first is the empty property premium, which is listed under funding available. And there's 360,000 in the budget line for that particular premium, which is for empty properties, currently empty for 2 years or more, where the government applies a 50% premium on the council tax, and I assume that's a 360. From April next year, that premium will rise to 100% for properties that are empty over 2 years. From 2020, that premium will rise to 200% for properties that are empty for 5 years or more. And from 2021, the premium will rise to 300% for properties that are empty for 10 years or more. Why do I know this? Because I'm very pleased to say that was an amendment I brought to this bill in the House of Lords and which has been accepted by all parties. So what this will do should increase this budget line very significantly. And, you know, we're looking for savings. We also ought to be looking for additional income. Every little bit will help. It might even double that budget line. The second thing I want to raise is also on just above that budget line, which is talking about 700 properties per annum increase for council tax. So I thought that seemed a really low figure. OK, the estimates are going to be cautious. On the other hand, in the local plan, we have signed up to, like it or not, 1,700 properties per annum. And in the revised National Planning Policy Framework guidelines issued August 2018, the government says there is going to be a housing delivery test and there will be penalties for local authorities who don't meet it. 700 will not meet it. We are signing up here for penalties. So, again, it is the Cabinet's responsibility to make sure they maximise income in a period where we're having enormous cuts. However little it will be, it's better than nothing. So there's two areas there where we could increase the amount and not cut as much. And the third area I want to ask about, really, because this is a critical decision that the Cabinet are making. Council tax, 1% rise in council tax raises about 1.8 million every year. The cap is now set at 3%. The Cabinet are going to moan about cuts, as I will do, but be willing to see 1.8 million less in the budget. That'll be their cut. I know we've got to balance between imposing additional taxes on folk and cutting services. But we have reached the point, I think, and I think local people think, where no more cuts are warranted.
30 seconds.
So I want to understand why it is that we are forsaking 1.8 million a year, which, by the way, would cover the cost of the library, cuts in library budget, or mend loads of potholes, whatever you like. And I think we need to understand from the Cabinet why they've made that choice. There's another hope there. I've raised for you about £2.5 million pounds per annum.
Councillor Pando.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor, and you're doing a really good job for saying it's your first time. Mr Deputy Mayor, one or two things that I just need to highlight in the report, because I think it's important that the whole context is actually highlighted. Under 1.4 of the summary report, we've actually suffered £150 million worth of funding directly. That means that 60% of our funds direct from government has been actually slashed. That is within the context that we're talking about. Also, in 1.6, we still have to realise that we're one of the worst funded local authorities in the country, 7th worst funded, and out of the 36 metropolitan authorities, we're actually the second lowest. So, you know, these are really good statistics to actually read, and that's the context that we're actually operating within. Also, Mr Deputy Mayor, 1.7, we've made savings in 17-18 of £54 million, and we did not tap into our reserves. So that is the record we have in front of Mr Deputy Mayor, on the backdrop of massive cuts, totalling £183 million. Also, Mr Deputy Mayor, 1.17, there is still worse cuts that we are facing. So although we are maximising our incomes, and I welcome the fact that Councillor Pinnock actually highlighted in terms of what we can do with our empty properties, and that is something that we'll be looking at, yeah, we still are facing, in 1920, a £7 million funding gap. That's in the report, Mr Deputy Mayor. Also, in 2021, there's another £9 million funding gap, and also 2021-22, a further funding gap of £5 million. So the cumulative total will actually get worse by adding another £21 million pressures on a budget that we actually see being squeezed. So that is within the context we actually operate in. And that's why I'd like to say thank you very much to Councillor Turner and the officers he's been working with, because we have actually done a fantastic job in the backdrop of cuts after cuts after cuts in 2010. Now, the government recently announced that austerity is over. I would like to see the writing on the wall. It's very easy to actually say things, but only time will tell if you actually put action where the words are. So that is on the backdrop of what Councillor Turner is challenged with, and I would ask everybody to support this budget, and we will do everything we can to make sure that we do actually meet the needs of our residents in the backdrop of massive cuts that we face. Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Pando. Right of reply.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. There's quite a number of points there that's been raised. Councillor Hall spoke about probing and challenging. I can assure you that in the run-up to this report, and it's more or less final draft, I spent a lot of time with our Section 1.1 officer, going through it more or less line by line, challenging him, came out with sensible answers. Hence, we have this report that I think is reasonable, sensible, given the uncertainties we face, and I'm happy with this report. Believe you me, we did spend a lot of time going through this. This is not an easy document for anybody to go through. I suspect that many people have gone through it in as much detail. So we did really go through it in great detail. I believe it is flexible enough. How flexible is flexible? It's always difficult, isn't it? Because as I said, there's so many uncertainties at the moment. But we believe genuinely the 151 officer at the end of the day has to be the one that is happy with this report, because it's his name that goes on these documents in effect. He's a legal guy responsible for this. So he's happy with it, and I'm happy with this as well. Reserves are always subjective, aren't there? There's usually 69 of us here if we're all here. And if I asked any single one of you, we'll get 69 different answers to what reserves are. And we spent significant time discussing this question, and we came up to the figure that Eamon's came up with, and we're both happy with that figure. Again, Section 151 officer has to be the one that is happy with that figure. And as I said, it is always subjective. How much do you need for a rainy day? But we believe we pitched this about right. Time will tell. MRP, if on page 27 at 2.17.1, it says current year financial monitoring has applied 5 million of the MRP flexibility to help offset significant underfunded service pressures relating to special educational needs and disabilities activity. Update your budget forecast to assume the continued application of this 5 million flexibility to continue to support high needs pressures in 2019-20, but reducing thereafter by £1 million per year with an equivalent government uplift in dedicated schools grants funding. High schools front grant in high needs block to offset this. John talked about European risks. Well, let's be honest. If anybody's got any idea about where we're going with Europe in this room, let's have a conversation at break time, because I have no idea. So I think what we put in there is about as good a guess as you can get. And I mean, we sat here now. It might have changed while we've all been sat here. I don't know what's going on in Parliament today. It changes daily. Who knows? If I knew I could put a bet on it, I could probably retire to the Bahamas or somewhere, or have an offshore bank account like many of the current government. Sorry?
One meeting, please. One meeting.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Sensitivity report, again, it's a bit subjective where you pitch it, and we've gone for the worst case scenario, so we can say this is the worst we envisage, and this is the possible best we can envisage. And again, it's a bit subjective. We did spend a lot of time whether we got it too high or too low, and we think we got it about right again. Again, you mentioned reserves, and I've covered that. General business rates and health budget, you're right, there's issues of that's around government funding, and there's little we can do until we get those figures from government, and how we're going to clear that. Again, I think we're about where we need to be. The empty property scheme, you're right, it could raise some money, but if it does what it's designed to do, it won't, because it'll get properties back into the market. That's what it's designed to do, is to force people to get empty properties back into the market. So I hope it doesn't raise a lot of money in a few years' time, because I want those empty properties back into the market, giving people homes, because we're desperately short homes in this country. So if it does what it's designed to do, and again, we'll have to wait and see, then it will put homes back into the market. And you're right, we won't get as much money, but that's what we need. We need homes, we need people's roofs over people's heads. There's a national housing shortage. That, if it works, that will help offset some of that. The 700 houses in the next year. Yeah, 700 houses. But that's an historical figure. You're correct. We have a larger long-term
Councillor Turner, you've got 30 seconds,
Sorry.
but you can carry on.
Can I? Very good. 700, you're right. That's based on historical evidence of house building in this country, in this authority. And the reason it's 700 next year is because the local plan won't be accepted until after Christmas, probably. And no way will we suddenly find builders moving in en masse. It will take a while because we've got things like planning permission to get, land to get bought, houses to be built. So that's why we've done it at 700. Hopefully, if the local plan works, the big hit will come the following year, 2020. So that's why we kept 700. It would have been very silly to put a figure in that we couldn't, because it would have put pressure on the collection fund. The reason we put the 1.9% in for the following year, rather than this budget, is because there's no guarantee that the cap will be 3%. So we've erred on the side of prudence. What we think they may well revert back. So it's been a bit prudent. There's no guarantee that the cap will be lifted for that following year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Using your consoles, please vote on the recommendation as moved by Councillor Turner. Yeah, that's carried. Thank you. Nine, written questions to the leader, cabinet member, chairs of committees and nominated spokesperson. Can we have a bit of quiet, please? Thank you. A written schedule of submitted questions as been circulated. I will now invite members to ask their questions in turn. The appropriate member will respond. One supplementary question to each submitted question is permitted. So first question by Councillor David Hall.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. This question is to Councillor Mather. What is the Council's policy on replacing concrete litter bins, please?
Councillor Mather.
Councillor Hall, there is no specific policy on replacing concrete litter bins, but it is practice to replace these with metal ones. This is due to the requirements to lift the basket vertically out of the bin to empty it, which creates excessive strain and increases risks in relation to manual handling. We are gradually replacing these with the new metal bins, which open sideways. There has been a delay to this programme, but we hope to be back on in timing, and we're awaiting. The delay has been we're awaiting delivery of more stock, and this programme will recommence. And if you have any specific concerns, officers are more than happy to meet members on site to discuss these issues. So, yes, there will be a replacement as we continue down the road. Thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary?
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. The reason I asked this question is that I've had one bin which was taken from the ward, concrete bin, over 2 months ago now. And despite repeated questions being asked by myself, it still hasn't been replaced. Another one was removed 3 weeks ago, and now we have a litter-strewn road there where the litter's mounting up in a horrible fashion. So the question is, would it not have been sensible to make sure that we got a supply of new bins in place before we remove the old ones? And will she perhaps agree to look at what happens in some of the councils where we have an outer bin, a cover, in which is a wheelie bin, so the wheelie bins can be emptied by the normal bin men instead of having... What's about? Right, thank you. Whether it would be possible to look at putting wheelie bins in an outer cover so they can be emptied by the bin men instead of having special crews to come and empty the litter bins.
Councillor Mather. Go on, can we have one meeting, please? Councillor Mather.
Councillor Hall, I'm not very happy to hear that bins have been taken. As I've explained, that we're slightly behind because we are awaiting supplies. And yes, it would have been more useful if we had actually made sure that the supply was there. And I'm always happy to look at what other authorities are doing, but we have to recognise, and as some of my colleagues said, about wheelie bins, about being taken, about plastic being put on fire, we've got to think about the safety aspects of litter bins. Thank you.
Supplementary? Question 2, please. All right. Only trying to be friendly.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. This is a question to Councillor McBride. Please, would you give an update on Pioneer House, including total spending to date on the project?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Pioneer House will be completed in 2020. It was intended to open this year, but we found structural problems, which has led to more work having to be undertaken. The original price was 2.7 million. It's now going up to 5.2 million. Incidentally, all the costings are being met by the LEP and is part of the delegated funding to the West Yorkshire County Council.
Supplementary.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. I'm quite shocked to hear that £5.2 million has been spent on that building.
I said will be spent when it's complete.
Will be spent. I'm quite shocked to hear that £5.2 million will be spent on that money. Regardless of where that money comes from, it's still coming from the public purse. And it seems that the only regeneration effort going into Dewsbury is doing up old buildings. Is that £5.2 million spent on one building really good value for money, while the remainder of the town flounders?
Well, I will talk much later about the total investments in Dewsbury, but Pioneer House isn't the only investment by any stretch of the imagination. The Learning Quarter, you might have seen, the Learning Quarter building was opened in September. That was a very significant investment, and it's... Pardon? No, I know, it doesn't see things. Also, we intend to spend a significant sum of money on the market, and again, I'll explain much more of that to you a bit later. I think you've got to see the investment in learning in Dewsbury as a totality. So the Learning Quarter building is part of the total. Pioneer House will be an extension of that, and so all will be in place in 2020. You cannot anticipate the fact that you work on a building and you find that some of the Victorian architecture was substandard and that had to be put right, and that has led to increased cost, undoubtedly.
Thank you, Councillor McBride. Councillor Davido.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Another question to Councillor McBride. How long will it take to complete your master plans for Huddersfield and Dewsbury town centres?
Well, Mr Deputy Mayor, it's not my master plan. I think that's intended as a kind of facetious comment. So the master plans for Huddersfield and Dewsbury have been commissioned by the council. They're not mine. For Huddersfield, the Huddersfield plan will be completed this year, and the Dewsbury plan will come to the Cabinet in January. Meantime, we have a town framework which will show how we will make improvements to the public realm in both centres. It will involve paving and highway repairs, new lighting and investment in greenery, bushes, flowers and trees. This will come to Cabinet in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and I'll explain to you further then.
Thank you, McBride. Councillor McBride. Councillor David Hall, supplementary.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So we hear that these master plans have now been commissioned, and already Councillor McBride has disassociated himself with the findings of those reports by the sound of it. I've previously been told by regional officers that these master plans may take up to 3 years to finalise. Can I ask, please, what involvement local members have had with these plans? Given that we've already waited nearly 10 years for the Labour administration to achieve anything much in the way of regeneration across the borough, can Councillor McBride blame people for thinking that the current administration is just sitting back and waiting for their paychecks every month?
Again, you may not have noticed some developments that have taken the last 10 years. Kirklees College, new college in Huddersfield, a new leisure centre. You perhaps didn't notice that. Pioneer House is almost completed. Perhaps you didn't notice that. So you have some difficulties in understanding what actually is happening. I do understand that you've got problems.
Right, it's 6:53, and I think I need a break, and I'm sure you guys need a break too. So shall we go to a break and then carry on the meeting after that? Thank you very much. Come on, guys, 15 minutes over. Come on, guys. Please settle down now. Right, question 4. 4. Is it on 3? No, we've done 3. You're testing me. Right. Councillor David Hall is not here.
This question was to Councillor Scott, but I understand Councillor McBride will answer it. Not counting the 550 excellent Homes for Life units commissioned by the last Conservative administration, how many council houses have been built in Kirklees since 2009?
Councillor McBride.
Exact figures, I've just got these earlier today. We built 36 traditional houses, 27 under the Empty Clusters programme, which was funded, and 28 which were reclaimed houses which KCA built. So the answer is we've built few, and the reason being we've not been funded to build, and because of the right to buy, with huge discounts to its residents imposed by the government, that's a total disincentive. Because really what this amounts to is the government thieving, and I use the word advisedly, from the council. This is council property, council money. The government is saying you have to sell, then taking the proceeds and giving a discount on property it does not own. That, in my book, is theft.
Supplementary.
Not all property.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. The figures that you've given are amazingly low, given that your group, and particularly the former leader, Councillor Sheard, have constantly bemoaned the shortage of council housing. There are thousands of people on the waiting list. Do you think that record over 9 years of several dozen houses is one to be proud of? And really, can we blame people for thinking that successive Labour administrations are just sitting back and taking their paychecks?
If you look at the total, the figure is actually negative because we have lost hundreds of houses because of the right to buy. So what the government has done has put in place a negative policy very effectively, then comes up with a white paper prefaced by Mrs May which says the housing market is broken. Yes, and who broke it? Yeah, the government broke it because they put nothing in place to encourage real significant development in housing, which has never taken place in this country other than a big provision in the public sector, which once happened under a man who was, in fact, a Conservative. He built 300,000 houses a year. He was called Harold Macmillan. What would be now considered a socialist attitude, regarded the public sector as very important, regarded public housing as very important, and did trust local authorities to build housing. The Tory government doesn't, and to be fair, nor did the Blair government, and it's utterly shameful. If the Tories want to resolve this problem of housing, they've got to entrust councils to build the relevant and necessary houses.
Thank you. Question 5, Councillor Idale.
Thank you, Madam. I would say Madam Mayor. I changed my glasses. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Question to Councillor Turner. How are you measuring satisfaction with the Council's automated telephone service?
Councillor Turner.
Councillor Idale, thank you. We were wondering who was the first one to refer to the current Mayor as Madam. 82% of calls to the automated switchboard, which receives 700,000 calls per year, are successfully passed through to the right contact point as requested by the caller. When the system identifies a difficulty in allocating calls, the system reports this. We then look at the problems on a regular basis and make changes as appropriate. Whilst it would be great to have a 100% success rate, given the huge variation in language and certainly accents we have from our callers, it's probably unlikely we will ever get there. Since its introduction, the system has improved and will continue to do so as we make changes and the technology improves. Thank you.
Councillor Idle, supplementary.
How much per annum does it cost, please?
I genuinely don't know, but I'll find out and let you know. It's significantly cheaper than employing people to answer 700,000 calls.
Thank you. Question. Councillor A. Pinnock.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Can the Council claim compensation from Virgin Media where the installation of new cables results in local pavements and verges being damaged?
Councillor Mather.
Councillor Pinnock, the Council cannot claim compensation from Virgin Media where they are installing cables or other apparatus in pavements, verges and roads. The Council does require utility companies to undertake repairs to defects which are identified as not meeting the required national standards during the guaranteed period. Thank you.
Supplementary.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. That is a very interesting answer. My supplementary relates to something that I heard this morning from a trader in the town centre. And I was told that Virgin Media are due to start laying cables in the town centre. Now, my question is, because we have got paving slabs on most of the pavements in the town centre. Given what you've said, I foresee much more problematic results of them Virgin Media reinstating such pavements as opposed to tarmac. Can you give me a reassurance that a close eye will be kept on what they do?
Councillor Pinnock, I can reassure you that a close eye will be kept, and if pavements are lifted, they're supposed to be put back in the same condition, same quality, and they're under guaranteed for 2 years.
Thank you. Question 7, Councillor Eastwood.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Signs cluttering. Is it on? Yeah. No? Right. Okay. Yeah, there are an estate agent for sale signs cluttering a piece of council-owned land in Linley. Numerous requests have been made to remove the signs, but the signs have remained in place, and no enforcement has been undertaken by the council. When can residents expect to see the signs removed?
Councillor Mather.
Councillor Eastwood, this is a constant problem we're having to face up to. The Council does send warning letters offering a reasonable time frame for these to be removed before taking action and removing the boards and sending the agents a bill.
Councillor Eastwood, supplementary.
Okay, thanks for that. Yeah, the supplementary is, in this particular instance, it's 2.5 years since I was elected, and it's been going on for 2.5 years. The number of boards varies from 7 to, at present, there's about 12. Residents are getting fed up to the back teeth, to be fair, and looking to take action of their own to remove them, because they feel nothing's going to be done.
Can we have a bit quiet there, please? Thank you.
Sorry? Estate agents, as far as I'm aware, are only allowed one for sale board, and that has to be within the grounds or attached to the wall of the property in question, not hundreds of yards away from the property in question. So what the enforcement just doesn't seem to be working. So what can you do to improve the enforcement? Thank you.
it's sad to hear that after 2.5 years nothing's been done. I am sure that there has been a large development in the area, and where and estate agents can put boards up. And I am sure we have taken enforcement, but in relation to enforcement itself, like everything else, there is finite resources, and we do the best we can, given
Can we
the
have a bit
constraints.
quiet, please?
And if you have particular instances where this happens, please get in touch.
Thank you. Question 8, Councillor David Hall again.
Sorry. Question 8 is to Councillor Turner. How many dwellings are expected per year in your new budget assumptions?
Councillor Turner.
Councillor Hall, thank you. As in previous years, we have had to make assumptions on how many new homes will start to pay council tax for 2019-20 budget. Based on historical data, we have assumed over the budget period we'll see an increase of around 700 homes.
Supplementary? No? Thank you. Question 9,
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. This is a question to Councillor McBride. How many dwellings are expected per year in your local plan?
Mr Mayor, the local plan refers to an average of 1,750 houses per year, at least in the next 15 years. The plan will be won't be approved till early next year, so we expect this delivery to pick up in subsequent years so that that level will be achieved and exceeded in the subsequent 10 years. We can expect such a delivery because we own a great deal of the land and because we've been working with the Housing and Communities Agency to ensure that there's sufficient investment. Also, we've been working with the private sector to ensure that we can deliver on that plan. And in fact, the inspector was a little concerned about the ambition of that plan and said, can you deliver? And we proved to the inspector, yes, we have the means to achieve that.
Supplementary?
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. We've had two different answers to the same question, in effect. Councillor Turner says we think we're going to build 700 properties per year over the next few years. Councillor McBride says it will be at least 1,750. Either the local plan estimates for housing growth are wildly optimistic, or the assumptions that you have just all voted for that you base next year's budget on are wrong. Which is it? Councillor McBride's version or Councillor Turner's?
Councillor Turner. However, I'm absolutely sure we can deliver on this for the reasons I've just given, because we have the plan, and that will itself be an impetus and momentum for delivery. We will be the only area within the city region which has an up-to-date plan. Already we're seeing signs that that is important because investors and developers are coming to Kirklees to see what they can do because they've got the appropriate stability. And as I said, the inspector had some reservation about that figure, but was convinced that we will achieve it.
Thank you. Question 10, Councillor Holmes.
Question is to Councillor Burke. Have you, as Chair of Children's Scrutiny, invited the police to attend a meeting to give a briefing on the CSE situation in Kirklees?
Councillor Burke.
Thank you. At the Children's Scrutiny Panel meeting on the 10th of September, we received a comprehensive report and briefing on child sexual exploitation in Kirklees. I gave an undertaking at that meeting that I would give consideration as to how best we could move forward with that and be confident with the measures that are in place. And this will include regular briefings from officers and perhaps from the police as well, where appropriate, so that we can be confident in the work that's taking place.
Thank you. Supplementary?
So is the answer no?
Thank you. I know Councillor Holmes is very interested in this subject. So our next meeting is in November. And we have had, I believe on Monday, a meeting around CSE, which was led by West Yorkshire Police, and I think it was the Detective Chief Inspector who came and briefed us. So there's no need to worry about delays in the work that we're doing, because there was an invite sent to all councillors to attend that briefing on Monday, and I'm sure you were here, as you've taken very keen interest in the work of CSE. And as I said previously, I will do what I can. I'm not going to duplicate any work. I'm going to work with partners, I will work with the police, and I'll work with officers to make sure that we don't undermine any other work that's taken place or duplicate any other work that's taken place. And as I said, we had a meeting, a briefing on Monday, which was quite comprehensive and thorough.
Thank you, Councillor Burke. No. No, sorry. Right, question 11. Councillor Smith to the Leader.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. This is a question for the Leader. Can we be confident that the threatened bin strike is now not going to happen?
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Yes, we can. We can be confident that there's no strike going to take place this year.
Councillor Smith, supplementary.
Thank you for that. We're all relieved to hear it. But a couple of months ago, you stated that you didn't get involved in industrial disputes, and you did not see this as the role of the Leader, choosing instead to leave this to officers. Given the obvious political nature to this dispute, is your position influenced by membership of Unison, and in the future will you step up to the plate and lead the council to ensure that the residents of Kirklees receive the services to which they are entitled? And if you still don't see this as the role of the council leader, is this really a position that you feel you should be occupying?
Councillor Pondo.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Firstly, I don't see how my membership of Unison has any bearing or relevance on the subject matter we're talking about, and let me explain why. Firstly, if Councillor Smith is genuinely wanting to sort the problem out, he would actually come and see me. He's been jumping on his bandwagon, and I would question your motive, Councillor Smith, because the bottom line is that the residents and our workers and the staff that work for us are more important than politics in this situation. You've been talking about a dispute in a way that you're actually trying to hatchet up the dispute. Do you want a resolution or don't you want a resolution? By coming to this council chamber and actually time in, time out, and then going to the media and just blabbing about stuff that's not existing, isn't any good for this council or this council chamber. Never ever once have you spoken to me directly. My door is always open, and that is really appalling. It's really bad behaviour and it's bad taste. You're talking the council down, you're talking your group down, and most of all, you're actually having a big impact on our staff who are doing a unique job. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Pando. Item 10, the minutes of the meeting of the Cabinet are here for information to note. Item 11, holding the Executive to account for Part A of this item, Council will receive portfolio updates from the portfolio holders for economy and health and social care. Oral questions and comments to Cabinet members on their portfolio and the relevant Cabinet minutes will be at Part 2. Can I now invite Councillor McBride and Khan to present their portfolio updates? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. My portfolio regeneration requires thinking and planning for the long term, and that requires patience. So my account will refer in part to...
Can we have a bit of quiet, please? Thank you.
...to what has been achieved, what's being put in place, and what we might reasonably aspire to achieve in the future. I'll address three main issues: the local plan, our skills strategy, and the future of our main towns. We now expect the local plan to be adopted in the new year, and it will have a transformational impact on the local economy and its infrastructure. It will mean we can build the 31,000 houses the borough needs in the next 15 years, of the type and in the locations we want. It will also provide the employment land that industry needs and prove to the world we're open to business. At the same time, it will protect the green belt and the green lungs in the urban areas from indiscriminate development, which is always possible when you don't have a 5-year land supply. In this respect, we'll be ahead of the game in the city region. We'll be the district with an updated local plan, which must prove attractive for future investment. It's worth noting that Wakefield, in the last 10 years, was the area with a local plan, and it grew faster than all the other districts in West Yorkshire. Wakefield now needs a new plan, so we'll be the ones ahead of the game. Because we own large tracts of development land in the plan, we'll be able to deliver housing which will meet our social aspirations for a balance of affordable and extra care residences in mixed communities. So we'll be able to shape our new communities, and because we have the approval of the major transport schemes in the West Yorkshire Transport Fund, the necessary infrastructure will be in place in time to support all this development. So the local plan is the linchpin for future growth. It will unleash unprecedented opportunities for employment in construction to build the houses and roads that will support development. In the next 15 years, we'll experience a boom in housing in the sub-region, as our 31,000 houses will be matched by 50,000 in both Bradford and Leeds, 18,000 in Wakefield and 12,000 in Calderdale, as their local plans come to fruition in the subsequent 2 or 3 years. Added to this, the proposed £3 billion investment in Transpennine upgrade, a large part of which will be in Kirklees, determines a very large demand for a range of skilled personnel. So this is the fundamental underpinning of our skills strategy. That is to say, to ensure our people, particularly young people, get the benefit of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Thus, we've assembled partners to help prepare to respond effectively to the expected demands for local skills. These partners include the colleges, the university, Network Rail, CITB, and representatives of industry, as well as the council. The task of the partnership are threefold. Get the message to the young people, their parents and the schools about the opportunities. Find out exactly the numbers and what levels of skill will be needed, and finally ensure the right training and courses are available to meet the demand. But construction isn't the only section that we and our partners will focus on. We're still a major area for manufacturing industry, with over 1,000 firms of varying sizes, all with unique needs for skills and for updating skills to replace a workforce, the workforce of the present with the workforce of the future. So it was pointed out to me by some of the biggest developers that they have an ageing workforce, average age for skilled personnel being about 55. Within 10 years, most of those are going to have to be replaced. A third sector of growing importance is the range of what we might call the caring industries, the NHS, care providers in the private sector, and the Primary Provision Commission through LACALA. This section is growing exponentially, responding to the demands of an ageing population. So we're targeting the construction, manufacturing and care industries, which will be the source of future jobs at every level, from the managerial and technological to the very basic skills. The task we're setting the partnership is ambitious and demanding, but if it does a reasonable job, we can ensure that a unique period of expansion doesn't pass by the local population. There's another facet of the skills agenda. This is to get our people prepared for and back into employment. It's providing training for the unemployed, people with limited skills, with a limited skill range, and those that want to re-access employment. Most of this is funded by the EU and the city region. Finally, with regard to our major town centres, we have immediate and long-term plans. In both, we intend to develop an area action plan which will dictate how we spend the substantial sums we've put aside to make generationally significant investments. In this process, we will involve the relevant stakeholders, not least the public. In the short term, we will improve existing infrastructure, repairing, where necessary, paving and parts of the highway. There will be improvements to lighting and the introduction of greenery, which will conform to a framework which will come to the Cabinet in the next couple of weeks. The framework will set a standard and determine the improved experience of sitting in and walking through our main thoroughfares. In short, it will set the tone for our streetscape environment. In the longer term, Dewsbury will see a refurbished market, the opening of Pioneer and Learning Quarter buildings, and refurbishment of adjacent buildings, and the creation of open areas which will conserve and enhance the major edifices. Some of this investment will be funded by Historic England and by the LEP. In Huddersfield, our major intervention will centre on the Piazza area, the library and closed market, to give us a museum, an art gallery and library and information centre that are focal points of interest. At the other end of the town, we intend to enhance the St George's Quarter, including the square, to complement the impending investment by Network Rail and City Region in the station. Thus, for the two main centres, we have immediate and long-term strategies which will be fully developed in the area action plans. Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor McBride. Councillor Khan.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. As you may be aware, I've been assigned the adult health and adult social care portfolio. But today I will give an overview about the public health aspect of this. And I'll be covering how it's linked to the corporate plan, our approach in Kirklees, the particular challenges that we have in Kirklees, the demographics and budgetary challenges, and I'll be talking through our four main work themes. Okay, as a result of the Health and Social Care Act in 2012, we inherited public health in 2013. There's a definition here, a World Health Organization definition, but basically it's the health and well-being of the population of Kirklees and addressing health inequalities. Now, it's a key theme in making Kirklees a great place to live and for people to have long, healthy lives. And it's also very much related to place, people and partners. Now, everything in the 7 priority outcomes is related to public health in one way or the other. You could say that these contribute to the overall health and well-being of Kirklees. Now, with our approach in Kirklees, first of all, we have a wealth of data and intelligence, but so do our partners, so does the NHS, and Locala and other partners, and we are working on a protocol to bring all this to share information and bring the information together so we have a richer picture of the health needs in Kirklees. Now, everything we do is evidence-based, so it's based on this information that we have and the quality of the information, and we'll use it to shape policy, to influence other partners. Now, some of these services we deliver directly, and some of them we commission. We also have a role with holding the CCGs to account. We've adopted a whole systems approach, and that means we're looking not just externally, but also looking within the council. Public health has been quite instrumental in forming some policies under licensing, for example, the gambling, and we'll be reviewing the alcohol licensing policy as well. I mean, as you can see with the outcomes, because public health is related to all the outcomes, it only makes sense for public health to work across the board and across place. Now, we focus on the across the life course from pre-birth to old age, and also our strategy is very closely linked with the revised health and wellbeing strategy. One of our challenges is, like I said earlier, addressing the health inequalities. And if you look at these figures, there are huge, significant health inequalities which need to be addressed. Otherwise, you can imagine there's a natural impact on adult social care and our budget there. And these health inequalities, there's 17 years in some areas between the most affluent areas and some of our most deprived areas. There's also health inequalities in terms of smoking rates, and also health inequalities in terms of the number of population in their healthy weight range from in the most affluent areas and in the most deprived areas. So we know that Kirklees has a higher than national average birth rate, and life expectancy in itself is increasing. And this poses challenges in terms of the population that's dependent, the young and the old who are not in employment is increasing year upon year. We've had £2.7 million worth of cuts over the last couple of years, and we've got nearly £2 million worth of cuts to make in the future. So whilst the health needs are growing in Kirklees, the money's diminishing. Now, all the work that public health does can be put into 4 broad themes. And the Starting Well theme, Starting Well aspect of it works from 0 to 19-year-olds. There's been a transformation, and the new Thriving Kirklees model has basically taken all the old traditional health services like school nursing and other services and integrated them, so it's a whole system approach. And there's quite a few benefits to this, apart from just saving money. There's benefits to staff in that they're trained more widely, and a family or a child can have the same worker from the start till they're 18. So it's a more seamless, and we're not wasting time, and we're saving on administration costs between passing families and children from one service to another. The living and ageing well, that covers the healthy weight aspect. We want an increase in our population who are a healthy weight, and I will be delivering later, perhaps at the next council meeting or after that, very soon, more information about our approach in Kirklees. We want people to increase their activity levels, and again, this is another theme where there's huge differences between one area and another area, and that can be in the same ward. We want to reduce the number of people with mental health problems and, of course, decrease smoking. We've done a significant amount of work around smoking and trained people from other organisations to widen the scope and widen the access to smoking cessation programmes. We've written and signed off the wellness model, and again, there's the theme throughout that is a holistic approach. So rather than dealing with different aspects of somebody's health, they'll be assessed and will be supported to kind of focus on which aspects of their health they need to deal with first. So it's treating a person rather than as a whole, rather than just picking out, well, you need some weight management, or you need to stop smoking or whatever. My health tools, the evaluation of that has been very successful, and people have reported that it has been useful for them to self-manage their illnesses or conditions. We're doing a significant work around suicide prevention, formed relationships with the police and CCGs. We'll have more up-to-date information and up-to-date responses. We've signed up to a mental health concordat, which is basically an agreement of principle to look at mental health at the beginning, rather than just crisis managing, but to actually to look at how we can prevent people getting mental health issues in the first place. And we're one of the first local authorities to do that. Today is World Mental Health Day, and we're having an event at the stadium, and we're focusing on men, because there's more men who commit suicide than women. And we're updating the Affordable Warmth leaflet, which will come out soon, and councillors should get an email about it. And so if you need any copies, please order them and use them with residents. And this is just a photograph where Kirklees was recognised as the walk-friendly workplace. And this means that our staff are encouraged to walk short distances to other venues and not take their car, have walking meetings, and take breaks at lunchtime to walk as well. So,
Councillor Khan, you've got 30 minutes, but this is a very important subject, so I'll let you carry on.
Thank you. Well, I won't be long. Now, the wider factors bit. This is the bit I'm most excited about, having done highways before, and it is working across the council with, say, for example, with highways and with planning, having an impact to the planning strategies, and public health wrote the health impact assessments that developers can use. And of course, I've mentioned the work we're doing in terms of licensing, and we're writing the Air Quality Action Plan and the Air Quality Strategy. Now, in terms of health protection, like I said, there's some aspects of health that we deliver ourselves. This is the traditional public health stuff that we do. I'd just like to highlight an achievement that we've had with incidents of TB, which have gone down from 20 per 100,000 to an average of 13.6 to 100,000 over the last few years, over the last 4 years. And we also dealt with 70 environmental hazards control, emergency preparedness response things, and we commissioned sexually transmitted services to deal with sexually transmitted infections. Right. So just in summary, there are challenges, there is further reductions in the budget. However, there's lots of positive work that's gone on, and we've remodelled, retransformed to more efficient services. However, some services have been clawed back a little, and the focus remains on health and well-being of Kirklees, which is absolutely crucial to the success of everybody in Kirklees. I've outlined some of the issues in terms of deprivation, and we've got massive, huge inequalities to address between one area and another area. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Khan. Part A is now complete, so we will move to Part B. Are there any questions to the Cabinet Member for Economy Portfolio Holder, Peter McBride? Councillor Peter McBride.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. And thanks to Councillor McBride for that statement. He did mention in there the Cabinet's thinking, in part, on the Transpennine route upgrade, which obviously is a major project. Could we ask him, therefore, to spell out the Cabinet's ambitions with regards to the works in Kirklees on the Transpennine route upgrade? Because at the recent Transport Committee of West Yorkshire Combined Authority, which received a paper on this, it was mentioned within that report that Kirklees officers had been consulted on the ambitions. And Councillor McBride shared my concerns and made a statement that members had not been involved. That was disputed at the meeting by officers, but we take his word that neither he nor Councillor Pandor had had the briefing that the officer mentioned. We've seen that Leeds have been very proactive with their transport bid and their ambitions. Leeds have seen new rail stations open at Appley Bridge and Kirklees.
Councillor Bolt, is this a question or a...
It is a question, and it's also, I believe, we can have comments on this, but it's giving context to the question, Mr Deputy Mayor. I believe it's important for members to have context to questions. Leeds have been very proactive in securing many new rail stations. We've seen the opening of Appley Bridge and Kirklees Forge. The Ambitions report mentions new stations at Thorpe Park on the eastern side, White Rose, and also we read now of a brand new one serving the Eden Airport. So the question must be, Mr Deputy Mayor, what are Kirklees doing for this? What are Kirklees doing for the economy and the environment, in particular with rail stations? I make no apology for mentioning Murfield, which... Laugh if you want, members of the Labour group. Murfield is the only rail station within the whole of Kirklees with a direct link to London, which our colleagues in Wakefield and Leeds use for their economic ambition. And we see the strength which Bradford are putting in this by wanting direct links to London from Bradford. So what are Kirklees doing about this? I asked the Cabinet member. Because according to Network Rail, this Transpennine route upgrade, which Councillor McBride referred to...
Councillor Bolt. Okay. Carry on, it's okay.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm indebted to the Chief Executive.
Councillor McBride, it's okay.
Cheers,
you carry on, thank you.
Because, Mr Mayor, according to Network Rail, who are undertaking the Transpennine route upgrade, Murfield Railway Station is only being remodelled, yet Ravensthorpe is being rebuilt, and we know from previous experience that is a cost of probably £20 million. But surprisingly, according to Network Rail, Ravensthorpe is being moved westwards towards, or maybe inside, the Murfield border. And given Councillor McBride's statement previously following the local plan that he would undertake a review of rail stations in that area, a further question is what actions has he taken to instigate the review to put forward proposals for feasibility and other funding at West Yorkshire level? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Baldwin. Councillor McBride.
I think you're asking what are we intending to do in Kirklees with regard to Transpennine. Well, we made our representation to say we want to see them implement what was originally proposed. Bear in mind, the Secretary of State told us originally he was going to electrify the line. Then he told us he was going to pause on that consideration. Then he said it might be somewhat different. Then he said he was going to decide in the late autumn. Whatever, the three propositions which have gone before him suggest there will be at least £3 billion spent. £1 billion of it, we know from Transport from the North, will be spent in Kirklees. And it will involve Huddersfield Station. And it will involve a new station. They virtually told us that is going to happen at Ravensthorpe. It also involves improvements to stations in Dewsbury, in Marsden, in Batley. Now, the improvements are not going to be of the same... Sorry.
Carry on, Peter.
There isn't a station in Kirklees, is there? Sorry. I'm sorry.
Can we just have one meeting, Councillor McBride?
There are plans which are predominantly Network Rail plans. Now, you referred to my objection to what was going before the Transport Committee. It referred to the problem of congestion in Huddersfield. In discussion with Transport for the North, and I've lengthy discussions with Transport for the North, they say you cannot resolve the problem of Transpennine until you resolve the problem of congestion in Huddersfield, which means any solution which is to reduce the overall action as opposed to capacity will be wrong. That reinforced by Councillor Richard from Manchester. Richard Lees, who made the same point. Until you resolve the problem of Piccadilly, until you resolve the problem of Huddersfield and Micklefield, you're never going to get this right. I agree with him. Transport for the North agree with that. So any solution which comes from West Yorkshire, which is less than, I object to. That is the reason I moved an amendment at that committee, which was accepted, and we are going to have that further discussion. I think, is there any other question I haven't answered?
Thank you, Councillor McBride. Councillor Pinnock A.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. You'll have to forgive me because it's not always clear which Cabinet member is responsible for which subject. I have a question about the Spen Valley Leisure Centre. And can you enlighten me whose portfolio that is? It's not him. Well, through you, Mr Deputy Mayor, who is it? Right, thank you.
Thank you. Next, Councillor Armour.
Yes, thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. The Cabinet member, Councillor McBride, mentioned work in St George's Square to complement work being done by Network Rail on the railway area and the station facade especially. I was just wondering if the Cabinet member could enlighten us as to what is to happen with the George Hotel.
Councillor McBride.
The work I referred to in St George's Square does not include the work I referred to in St George's Square does not include St George's the George Hotel. We don't own the George Hotel. We are talking with the owners to see what might be the outcome of that. But it does not include actions we are intending to take directly in the immediate future on the George Hotel. However, we do have plans for the square, and which will complement the activities of Network Rail. And that would be ultimately to take all the traffic to the back to build a new car park and to ultimately develop the railway warehouse, also with 2 openings into the station, and that Network Rail are thinking of doing. So you could have a totally transformed area, that area of the town. So that is what I know about. I don't know anything about the George Hotel in the short term.
Councillor Light. Oh, sorry.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I'm interested to hear that the George Hotel really isn't part of St George's Square. We're a bit surprised at that. But I was just wondering then, since the talks are going on about the George Hotel, if we could be given a bit of information as to how far advanced they are. Thank you.
The owner of the George Hotel obviously talks with council officers from time to time because it's a matter of our concern. It's a matter of, obviously, their concern. That's as far as I know, and that's as far as it goes. For the moment, that situation has been so for quite some time.
Councillor Light.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Councillor McBride, you spoke at some length and in some detail at your opinion of the economic benefits of the local plan when it comes into fruition, and many of those benefits I wouldn't necessarily disagree with. I think you spoke quite strongly about how that would be important for the council and would give the council an opportunity of an advantage in the region. In the light of the fact that the inspector, I think, produced their report, was it June, was it July? Could you tell us why you're not bringing back the local plan until the new year to this council for approval?
It's part of the inspector completed her work, then she sent her views to the council, which we had to respond to, which then, as the result of which, there had to be some further consultation with regard to the technicalities as opposed to the principles, which she'd already approved, principles of the plan. She was talking about various modifications which might be made. What would we do about that? We answered we would go along with her proposals. That had to go back to the public to look at the technical implications of what we had said regarding the plan and ultimately what we are commenting and intending to act on as a result of her judgments. We are going along with her judgments. That's why I can reasonably say that it will go through. I can also say that inevitably this is time-consuming. It does take a great deal of time. So we're expecting the outcome of that very shortly. It could be the end of the year. It could be very early in the new year. It could be January.
Councillor Lloyd, supplementary. Yeah.
Supplementary question, Mr. Mayor. Thank Councillor Bride for that explanation, which I think hopefully all members will find helpful. Can I ask him then to give us a target date for when he expects the final decision to be made on the local plan next year? A council meeting, which date?
We have the council in December or council in January.
Councillor D. Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Two questions in one, really. Tightrope walking is this. Oh yes, it can be done. To Councillor McBride. You mentioned two things which I'm interested in. Firstly, when you were talking about the local plan, you mentioned that the local plan would enable the council to influence the shape of development. So, could you give an assurance that local members can be involved in that shaping and exactly what how we can play a part in that? And the second thing you mentioned was a new framework for streetscape environment. Perhaps you could expand on that a little. And again, could you give us an assurance that local ward members will be involved in that and that it won't just be one standard across the whole of the borough?
I'm quite happy to answer the four. Members will be involved in the process, I absolutely guarantee. And in fact, they already are in some facets of it. In the big developments in Ravensthorpe, my colleagues will tell you, Councillor Hammond will tell you that they've already been involved in the shaping of the future of Ravensthorpe. That process will be reflected fully in Bradley. These are the big sites where we do have some very significant control. In others, we'll be involved in the normal way through normal planning procedures. So, yes, members will be involved. I intend that members do help to shape the whole future of these areas, because in these two cases, you're creating new villages, and I am absolutely determined to ensure that members are fully involved in that process.
Councillor Taylor J.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. A question for Councillor McBride, but if I may first, before I ask my question, just comment on your response to Councillor Hall. It's good to hear that local councils will be involved in helping with that shaping, but I was a little concerned when you just said that in Ravensthorpe the local councils have been involved. Clearly, what happens in Ravensthorpe has a wider impact on the adjoining wards. So I think perhaps just a reflection on should the Mirfield councillors and perhaps the other councillors in Dewsbury also be involved in that discussion, just more broadly in terms of the wider impact. And I'm sure the same will go for Bradley as well. That's not my question. I'm trying to see how many questions I can get in. No, it's a straightforward question, really. Okay.
When I talk about involving local members, I don't mean exclusively those people in that particular ward. At the moment, the immediate councillors have been very much involved, but all Dewsbury members or in wards associated or adjacent would be involved if they want to. No problem in that count. Yeah.
No, I'm fine with that. It was just an observation on what he'd replied to David, really. My question, and it won't come as really a huge surprise, this one, is we have a lot of talk when we talk about transport, about east-west. I never hear any talk about north-south. And I would, as I've stressed in this council a number of times, if you step back and look a bit more strategically, we are very well placed between the three cities of Sheffield, Manchester and Leeds, and we ought to be making more of that. Can I ask him what he has done in his role at the Combined Authority to try and push forward that agenda and what plans there are, if any, to try and address the train line north-south, which is opposed to the Penistone line. Thank you.
Thank you for that. With regard to north-south movement, the big one is going to be HS2. And we're trying to ensure that we get the benefits of HS2 as well as the people of, the whole city region. However, rightly, our emphasis is east-west because one of the reasons we're here is because of the connectivity in Dewsbury and Huddersfield. It's the raison d'etre for our two towns because they are so central. They are literally in the centre of the M62 and Transpennine. And thus, we are trying to maximise the impact of that and investments that are going on the M62 and Transpennine. We are not neglecting the other movements. I think it's maybe true to say in the past the combined authority had neglected the Penistone line, and I've made objection to that, as Councillor Bolt will tell you, to the fact that it was ignored at a certain point. They even had a map of the whole rail links throughout West Yorkshire, which didn't even include it. It's included now because of my interventions. And I only last Wednesday, Councillor Walker and I went to talk to Barnsley about how we could jointly lobby for more investment to ensure instead of one train an hour on the Penistone line, there are two, and that we get the appropriate investment from both South Yorkshire and West Yorkshire. So very much concerned about those lines too.
Thank
you. No more questions? Right. Councillor Sims.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Councillor McBride, question 4. Do you agree with me that a substantial amount of government money is being made available to the infrastructure to assist and pump prime your regeneration plan?
Councillor McBride.
Do I agree? Say it again.
Do you agree with me that a substantial amount of government money is being made available for infrastructure improvements that will help your regeneration plan?
All the money for the Transport Fund is forthcoming from the government. It is what the government provides in regional aid, yes. However, one must remember, as Gordon Brown wrote quite recently in The Guardian, you must remember all this offer of devolved power and devolved money is about 2/3 of what the previous government was giving to the regions, and not in the way that this current government is, which is dependent on its approval at every point. And that's particularly true of Mr Grayling, who doesn't deliver on his programme, but at the same time ensures that Kirklees and other parts of West Yorkshire deliver exactly as he prescribes for investment.
So you do agree with me then that you're getting a substantial amount of government money? Without going round the table and the chairs and the whatever, you do agree you're getting some money? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I also agree with the fact that we are getting a tiny fraction proportionally to what they're getting in London and what they're getting in the South East, which is per capita about 1/5 of what is being spent there. So the North is being deprived significantly by this government. It's about time we all made an issue of that.
Councillor Bolt.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Relating to your comments on the local plan, Councillor McBride, in particular Dewsbury Riverside, could you tell Council what Kirklees' involvement with Sporths is, please?
Sorry. Who are Sporths? I don't know. I don't know who Sporths are.
I'm happy to inform the Cabinet member that Sporths are the consultation company leading on the community engagement and consultation with regard to Dewsbury Riverside on behalf of Kirklees Council. As a major project, I would have hoped the Cabinet member would have known that. But as he didn't know who they are, can I then ask my question, Mr Mayor, that given your statement about ward member involvement in major projects, could the ward members in Murfield be afforded a consultation similar to that which is being put on in Thornhill Lees for Dewsbury Riverside, seeing as a large number of the houses on that are actually within the Murfield boundary, a fact which Kirklees officers ignored when first putting the local plan submission in, and that Murfield residents, Murfield roads, Murfield schools will undoubtedly be affected by the Dewsbury Riverside development. Could we have a consultation within Murfield on the Riverside development?
Mr Deputy Mayor, I see no reason why Murfield members couldn't be involved.
Can we have a bit quiet, please?
I don't see any reason why they can't. It is logical that you would predominantly involve the members in whose ward most of this takes place. I agree on the margins, some of it may be taking place in Murfield or may have an impact on the Murfield area. In that respect, I don't see any problem with involving officers with the relevant members. There isn't a problem.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Councillor McBride, for that. Over 500 houses is hardly on the margins. It's a major development within Murfield. When I did raise this originally, I'm grateful for your assurance that Murfield will have a consultation, because I was told initially that this was nothing to do with Murfield. So thank you to Councillor McBride for that.
Councillor Smage.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Can you tell us what is happening in respect of the new visioning for markets, please?
Some of the smaller markets have been subsidised for years and are really not very, effective. We're trying to reshape markets in terms of a modern demand. So in some cases, the markets have been handed over to the private sector to let them operate a market with our support. In other cases, I think that's true in the Bristol area. For the major markets, we do intend to reinvest in the major markets. Certainly in Dewsbury, we have plans which might mean a reduction in size of the market to make it more compact, more effective and more up-to-date, and which would include somewhere where people can go and have a sit, have a coffee and an experience, because shopping is more than just going shopping, it's about the total experience, and we're trying to reflect that in the kind of design we'll have. Equally, we will probably reshape the market in Huddersfield, which might mean some movement from the present situation. That isn't entirely determined at the moment. There'll be a lot of discussion with the existing operators to see what will take shape. We do intend to upgrade the open market and to do the kind of thing that we've been trying for some while, which is to have Sunday markets. And some of it has been very successful, and to therefore have a market when the public are there, rather than say the market is open and hope the public will come. We're trying to get the traders to understand if they want to trade, they've got to be there when the public are there, because trading is becoming more and more a leisure kind of activity. And the modern market has got to reflect that.
Thank you for that, Councillor McBride. As you say, Birstall Market is a vital part of Birstall. And could you please assure us that the visioning will include all of the markets and not just the few, and that local ward councillors will be involved in that visioning process where there are markets?
Thank you for that. Councillor Ahmed.
Mine isn't a question, Mr Mayor, and thank you. It's just a comment based on some of the stuff that's been said in terms of the Dewsbury Riverside. As ward councillors, Councillor Bolton, Councillor Taylor, we have been involved with the consultations. It's orchestrated by Sporthorpe, who are obviously the consultants, as well as Miller Holmes. It's not us that orchestrate those meetings, it's them. We've had a number of meetings with them. I know there's one fairly recently coming up again, and in the first one we had 100 plus people. I'd just like to echo, we're just going to the meetings, telling them who to speak to and what to find out. A bit like a fact-finding mission. So other than that, it's the council officers and sports officers, but I'd just echo that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ahmed. Councillor Hall D.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. A question for Councillor Brett-Myde, and this is just picking up on some comments you made earlier when we were talking about Flockton bypass. May I suggest to him that he said words to suggest that in the future a bypass may be a solution, but only when funds become available. Can I suggest to him then that he either asks officers to resurrect plans which may already be in place, or to draw up some new plans for a bypass, so that when funding does become available, such as at the Combined Authority, we have a scheme on the shelf ready to go, because this is how other councils are tapping into the money that's available, and we seem to be behind the traffic every time.
We're going to debate this later. Do you want me to tell you now or tell you then? That's the effect of our being friends, so what about the enemies? If funds become available, very unlikely, because the figures do not suggest for a moment that we will have sufficient case to justify a major investment. There's been 3 major analyses of the situation that I'm aware of, none of which came forward with the conclusion that it would be worthwhile to make a significant development there, other than to create the M1, M62 link, which would be a 17-mile dual carriageway, which we did look at somewhat 20 years ago, 25 years ago, was it? And we rejected it, and the people of Flockton rejected it. So that is the ultimate conclusion.
Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. I'd just like to start by thanking Councillor McBride for taking the flak for the last 15 to 20 minutes. He's had a lot of questions, but this, I think, has been one of the most productive and useful sessions I've actually seen in Council, so thank you for that. My point would be that, as people probably know, I'm a real fan of marketing and selling this area and going out into the world and telling the world what we've got to offer. And in particular, I'm a great fan of supporting the events that we've gone to, including the overseas property conferences and so forth. And I know that we're at MIPIM in London next week, which is probably not a bad thing either. And indeed, I hope next year that we see the leader again, and perhaps even the chief executive out in France, because we do see the leaders of all the other councils, Kirsten from Bradford and Tom from Leeds and so forth, and the various leaders, Judith and everybody. So I'm a real fan of marketing ourselves and supporting those kind of activities. But I have a concern, and the concern is that when you're selling, you have to have a product and a brand to sell. And it seems to me that the brand that we're trying to sell is Kirklees, and I'm just not sure if that means anything. And I just wonder, particularly in the context of having, a Premier League football team that's known around the world and so forth. So my question to Councillor McBride at the end of all that is to say, really, are we selling the right brand? And if so, what does it mean?
We've been trying to sell the market brand of Kirklees for all the time it's been in existence. The word has meant not a great deal to most people, therefore it's difficult to sell. What we're trying to sell, though, is the diversity of the different communities and the important towns and townships that we have. Huddersfield, Dewsbury, Batley, Cleckheaton, and so on. If I don't mention it, then I'm not. Sorry, I didn't mention Eckmont. So, what we're not a city. We're a diverse set of groupings of populations, and we're strong for that. A point was made yesterday in the picture of Kirklees, and what we're trying to mark is the fact that we're very competent at doing what we do, and that we can sell in turn the different parts of Kirklees. I think we're going to find it very difficult. The word Kirklees does not resonate with the public at large, and that is a problem we've been facing for all these years.
Councillor Watson, have you got a supplementary?
Yeah, my supplementary to that really would be then perhaps if we need some more work in terms of developing the brand and looking at the message, because whilst all the things you talk about are noble objectives, diverse communities and things like that, are they what is really going to, everybody's going out into the world and saying, yeah, we've got diverse communities and what a nice place to live in that. Have we really got a USP that we're pushing properly?
Our strengths. Yesterday, again, go back to that picture of Kirklees event, the local industry was there, and they shared the fact that this is a problem, and they're trying to market. But, the Huddersfield textile industry, the Huddersfield big firms like Syngenta and Cummings don't find any problem in selling their product. What we sell is what is good and is of high quality. And this area is noted for that. This we're trying to sell. Also, I think everybody, whether it was the private sector or industry or Kirklees, was sharing this kind of problem and willing to work together to present the totality of Kirklees and the fact we're all together in trying to develop it in all of its facets, including its future economic regeneration.
Councillor Taylor J.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Unfortunately, it's for Councillor McBride again. I've got two questions and about totally different issues. You want me to deal with? But they're quite simple, to be honest, Peter. The first one is looking forward to the local plan and the adoption of the local plan, whatever shape or form that may end up taking. Clearly, that then presents us as an authority with a huge challenge in terms of delivering on those commitments in terms of homes. What is being done currently to turbocharge the areas of the council that will need to deliver on those very ambitious plans? Because my worry will be that we get the plan approved and then all of a sudden we find we haven't got enough planning officers, we haven't got enough senior programme managers or people with experience in housing, etc.
Believe me, we've not been asleep while we've been developing this process. It's been a very, very long, epic process, taking many, many years. We have been working on the West Yorkshire Transport Plan to ensure that all the infrastructure is there to respond to the demands that the development will make. So, if we have plans for Chidswell, the planning is in there and the funding is in there to resolve the problem. We have major developments around Cooper Bridge and Bradley. Again, our biggest investment is already guaranteed through the city region. We've had to work to ensure that that's there, and the officers have been developing plans for the road structure. Similarly, our linkages with Calderdale are really important, Huddersfield and Halifax. And their developments we've got to take care of as well. So we're jointly planning our road structures because their plans and ours are complementary. Thus, we have a £129 million investment in the A629 upgrade, which will help both the centre of Huddersfield and the centre of Halifax. So, yeah, the plans are in place to ensure that all systems go, we are ready for development, as well as having talked to the HCA about appropriate funding. And we've talked to the private sector, who've been only too willing to talk to us because they know we've got a local plan.
Councillor Taylor. Supplementary?
First, just supplementary on that. I wasn't meaning so much that, Peter, in terms of strategic. I mean just operationally. You know, we're going to have enough bodies on the ground as you come through with some of these big developments. There's going to be a lot of things that officers need to pick up and deal with. Have we got the bodies on the ground? Are we increasing the numbers sufficiently so we can get them through quickly and at the pace we need to? Sorry.
That is a challenge. We have reduced people in highways, particularly, with nearly half the staff. We are now realising that we've got to put some of that personnel back in order to complete the programmes. Also, working with the Combined Authority, they've made appointments of officers, quite a lot of officers, to ensure the development plan, their thinking and ours is in place. So it's a combination. There is still a lot of work to be done, and I think more appointments to be made, to be frank.
Thank you. Councillor Patrick? You've got two.
Supplementary on the first question. I haven't asked my second question.
Sorry about it. Go on.
Sorry. And it's not a difficult one. This is about street scene, really. I've been making myself a bit of a nuisance with Carl Battersby and some of the team about the cleanliness of our town centre. And I keep emphasising that, we need to step up.
Can you keep it quiet, please?
We need to step up and recognise and see. I come into Civic Centre 3 every morning. There's loads of leaves everywhere. And I keep saying, can we not get ourselves in a position where we can keep this area clean? Because this is where we're going to have these people that you're talking about coming through to us. And it doesn't matter how many times I raise it, we don't seem to be able to solve the problem. So appreciate any thoughts or help you've got in terms of getting that, so that that entrance where we expect developers and people to come and visit yourself, your cabinet colleagues, Jackie and her officers, looks like a place to do business rather than a scruffy place with weeds outside.
It's autumn, so you do get a lot of leaves in autumn, and that is pretty normal. I do not accept the fact that the town is, either of the towns are dirty. I think at certain times they can be as a result of nights out on, over the weekend. It's amazing how the officers have responded very effectively to that. So it depends when you look at it. But mostly, I'm in the town centre every day. I do not have the same experience, and it is literally every day. With regard to the detail of things looking scruffy and looking tired and so on, that will be, those interventions will be put in place. The detail of this, I ensure you all get a copy of it, and we'll come into Cabinet within 2-3 weeks. So I'd be happy to have a long discussion about those details in 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Councillor Patrick? No, you've got... That was your... No, is that?
It's only, Peter, I'm actually talking about literally outside the entrance into Civic Centre 3. If we can't even keep that clean and tidy, and I accept that it's autumn and there are leaves, so we should assume that there are going to be leaves, and we can't seem to get in place a pattern of working to keep that area clean. That's what I'm talking about.
It's consistent with most people's experience. Yes, there are a few leaves from time to time, but again, in the autumn you expect it. Well, okay, but I really don't accept that as a major challenge to us, to be honest.
Thank you. Councillor Patrick.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Can you keep it quiet, please? Councillor Patrick, speak.
Markets again. It's interesting to hear that the council has won an award for markets innovations. It's just a pity there was no will to continue to support a market in Home Firth. Instead, the market was run down in preparation for closure. That decision was made in February, with closure next March. We have interested parties waiting for this council to talk to them and transfer the licence so we can continue to have a market in Home Firth. But nothing is happening. It is now October with 5 months to closure. Can you please tell me when you're going to make progress with this? Thank you.
I was assured by the officers that that dialogue is taking place. I also went to the Home Firth market about 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was buzzing. It was fantastically successful. But we get into a pattern where one-off events are extremely impressive, and they do bring big crowds. The old traditional of we're open on Wednesdays or Tuesdays and such like isn't having the same sort of impact. So we're having to think not just about which market, about what to do and when, and to relate it to when the public will be. And it may be there are intermittent markets which are very effective. I think you went to that, didn't you? The Home Firth market. Didn't you go to that? It's massively successful. You should try Home Firth.
Councillor Patrick.
If Home Firth market is massively successful, it beggars me why you've decided to close it. Anyway, the point I'm making is that we have got people in the community, in the town, who want to run a market, and the only reason we're being stopped is because Kirklees Council is not doing anything. We've been talking to these people. They want to get on with it. It's important that we have continuity. We do not want the market to close and then have a period where nothing is happening. We want to transfer it to a new venue. We want to get on with it. We want to give it to people that really care about the market and care about the town, and that is not Kirklees Council. So just give us the meetings and the tools to make that licence transfer and get on with it. That's what I'm asking you. When are you going to get your finger out and help us to transfer this licence and continue this market? Thank you.
I've already said this dialogue is going on. And it would be helpful for these matters if local councillors supported them and knew that they were going on and actually went to them. It would really be helpful.
Thank you, Peter. Time's up now, 60 minutes gone. So can we move to the next item? Item 12, minutes of the meeting of committees as included. The council agenda at item 12 are here for information. Item 13, questions, comments to chairs of committees, subcommittees, panels on matters within their terms of reference, including questions, comments on the minutes at item 12, which I will go through. I will permit one question followed by a supplementary. Are there any questions to the chair of the committees? Appeal panel, Councillor Dard, any questions? Corporate Governance and Audience Committee, Councillor Richards. Corporate Parenting Board, Councillor Kendrick. Employees Relations Subcommittee, Councillor Pando. Health and Wellbeing Board, Councillor Pando. Licensing and Safety Committee, including Licensing and Panel and Regulatory Panel, Councillor Pattison. Overview and Scrutiny Management Committee, Councillor Stuart Turner. Personnel Committee, Councillor Pando. Planning Subcommittee, Heavy Woolen Area, Councillor Kane. Planning Subcommittee, including Huddersfield Area, Councillor Lyons. Standard Committee, Councillor Eric Firth. Strategic Planning Committee, Councillor Steve Hall.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Councillor Pinnock, noble Councillor Pinnock, was referring before to council tax income from new houses, quite rightly. We also have opportunity to raise money for our services and infrastructure through Section 106 agreement, or as it will be SIL in the future. So I'm wondering, would Councillor Hall please use whatever influence he has to make sure that that we have a really robust negotiation with developers to get that SIL that we really need for the infrastructure, and also make sure that we pursue the payment of that as much as we can.
Councillor Steve Hall.
Yeah. Yes, we can. As I think people who sit on strategic panel or who have guts to watch it when we do it know that if we have an application where we don't like what we see regarding 106s, we send it back, and we will continue to do that. So, yeah, we will certainly keep on trying to get as much money out to developers as we possibly can.
Next one, Kirklees Neighbourhood Housing Board, Councillor Smage.
Yes, Councillor Smith. When we've had questions previous about the number of houses that we've been built, everyone ignores the fact that we had a PFI and that we had 600 houses built under a PFI that in 18 years' time will become council houses. In the meantime, they are being let as social housing. We are allocating the tenants to them. So can you confirm that the number of houses that we have built and supplied by the council are well over 600 and not the derisory figure previously indicated?
Councillor Smage.
Councillor Shade should be directed to your Cabinet Member for Housing, actually. But I believe that the question that was related, said except for the Excellent Homes for Life, and I believe there were 550 of those that were put in place. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Next one, Kirklees Active Leisure Board, Councillor Sohail. Can I ask a question, if you don't mind? I can, yeah? Right. Why is it that there's no swimming for young kids in Dewsbury on a Saturday? I went last Saturday with my grandson and they turned me away.
Deputy Mayor, there must be some reason over there. There must be some.
It must be me.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Hall.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. I'd like to ask Councillor Sokol, in his position as a Kirklees Active Leisure Trustee, about the new Spen Valley Sports Centre. We were consulted, and I think a lot of members were consulted, and I thank Cabinet members for the opportunity to comment on that. One of the questions I asked at that time is what will pull people to Spen Valley Sports Centre that they can't get anywhere else, because it needs a unique selling point, so it's not just another pool and another gym. And a suggestion I made, which I think would cost very little money but would actually be really beneficial, is that it had some specialist lighting and specialist sound system installed, particularly in the pool, for two reasons. Because I thought that might lead to young people on an evening maybe using it if it's a little bit more lively than just a normal pool. And the second thing, because these could be used actually as specialist sessions for children with disabilities or autism, where they needed lower lighting or they needed some nice ambient sound and this kind of thing. So unfortunately, neither of my suggestions appeared in the officer report I've seen since. So could I ask, please, Councillor Sokol, whether he could make those suggestions at board level to see whether they've got any traction?
Councillor Chok.
Madam Deputy Mayor. Yeah, I think it's a good suggestion by you. I think the board should have taken into account. But we have a board meeting in next month in November where alongside my colleague Mark, we will raise this issue. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that. Andrew Pinnick.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. I have two questions, both related to the new Spen Valley Leisure Centre. One is because of the fact that the swimming pool will close for 2 years, how can we ensure that people who are regular users of the swimming pool are given easy access, that they can get easily to wherever the replacement is, probably Batley and maybe Dewsbury? And the other question relates to the skateboard park, which exists at the back of the swimming pool, which I understand does not feature in the new plans. Now, quite a lot of money was spent in establishing this facility, which is, I think, greatly appreciated by those who use it. Perhaps not so much by local residents, but that goes with the territory, I suspect. But on the other hand, it is a really great way of diverting.
Councillor Andrew, this question is for Cabinet. So
well,
if somebody from the Cabinet can reply to your question.
It is partly within the purview of Kirklees Active Leisure, because the briefing that we had was from Adele Poppleton and Alistair Brown. So I'm hanging it on that. Anyway, there are two things. One, the facilities for people who are displaced by the swimming pool, and the other, the skateboard park.
Thank you. Was any Cabinet member going to reply to this? Or maybe a written response?
Mr Deputy Mayor, I'll do a written response to Andrew because it is really a Cabinet question rather than than a director's. But just going back to what David said about the heat lighting, that's really good, David. I think that's a really good suggestion. And there is a series of meetings coming up with officers to discuss the progress on it, and I'll make sure we discuss that with officers, because again, I think that's more a council issue than Cal issue, because they'll be operating where building in effect. So I'll take that as I said, there's a series of meetings coming up to start to discuss the sort of nitty-gritty in the planning stage. So I would take that to those meetings. So thanks, that's just really good.
Councillor Burke.
Thank you. It's regarding Huddersfield Leisure Centre and the quite often frequent closures of the splash park within that facility, which inconveniences numbers of residents and families. Can you outline any details as to the problems? Are they ongoing, or is there some kind of structural fault which is more permanent?
Councillor Graham Turner.
Again, I'll take this because this is more of an operational building issue. There are issues with the glass panelling in there. They are being investigated as we speak. I don't want to say too much because there may be legal action has to be taken, so I'm not going to go into it too much, but we are aware of the problem. It is a serious problem. It's a significant amount of money to fix, but as I said, in light of the view that there may be some legal action taken, I'm not going to say any more at the moment, but you're right, it is a problem, and it's a serious problem we're trying to address.
Thank you. West Yorkshire Combined Authority, Councillor Pandor. West Yorkshire Combined Authority Transport Committee, Councillor Koshik. Oh, yeah. West Yorkshire Fire and Rescue Authority, Councillor O'Donovan. West Yorkshire Joint Services Committee, awaiting confirmation for this number there. West Yorkshire Police and Crime Panel, Councillor Andrew Pinnock.
We are, if we get round to it, which is unlikely given all the procrastination we've had from the Conservative group, we'll be discussing the problems that they've got for about an area which is supposed to be a vehicles ban. And from what I gather, from talking to people in other areas where they've got heavy vehicles banned, it seems like the police don't seem to be wanting to enforce heavy vehicles bans. We had a delegation from council last meeting, that said that they reported vehicles in a town centre and the police had taken no action. We've got this one, we've heard about wagons going through the town. They're not delivering to the town, so they shouldn't be going through the town. They are, and yet, so I'm asking, can you please ask the police what action they're going to take and when are they going to start prosecuting for people not obeying heavy vehicles bans? We go to the expense of taking traffic regulation orders out to try and stop it, and we can't enforce it, only the police can enforce it, and they don't seem to be willing to do it. So can we have assurance that she'll take it up with the Police and Crime Commissioner?
Councillor Pinnock.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I'm happy to do that. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Watson.
Thank you very much, Mr Deputy Mayor. This is one for the Police and Crime Panel. And I'd reiterate the comment that I made to Councillor Matt Bride earlier on, that I think this has been one of the most productive sessions that I've seen in Council. I just find it really disappointing that the Deputy Leader considers that to be procrastination. But there we go, that's what you have to live with. The National Police Air Service operational control rests at Cargate in Wakefield. Is there a crisis of leadership in that service? Because it's a very, very important national service that's run out of there. So is there a crisis in the leadership of the NPS?
Unfortunately, I can't answer that at the moment, but it is something I can look into and get back to you on. Thank you.
Supplementary? No. Councillor Bolt.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Question is, do the Police and Crime Panel and the Police and Crime Commissioner believe that the oath of attestation of a constable is binding on an officer for the duration of their service?
Councillor Pinnock.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Certainly, Mr Mayor. Do yourself, the panel and the Police and Crime Commissioner believe that the oath of attestation, i.e. the legal obligation which someone takes on joining the police force, is binding on them for the whole of their service?
That's something I'll need to make some inquiries on, but in respect of my own personal view, I would say the answer is yes. It should be for the duration of their service.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. I'm grateful for that, and to help feeding that back, the part of the attestation is that I will, to the best of my power, cause the peace to be kept and preserved and prevent all offences against people and property, and that while I continue to hold the office, I will, to the best of my skill and knowledge, discharge all the duties therefore faithfully according to law. So does the member agree with me that the behaviour of the Metropolitan Assistant Commissioner, who locked himself in a car while people were being attacked, is against that office, and rather than resign, as we read in the newspapers, he should be dismissed?
Unfortunately, that's something I can't comment on. There is a due process that individual will need to go through, but it is something that is worth, considering. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pinnock. Councillor Patrick.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. I watched the Dispatches programme on Channel 4 on Monday night.
Very quiet down there, please.
I watched the Dispatches programme on Channel 4 on Monday night. This programme highlighted how police forces across the country are screening out investigations. Through Freedom of Information checks, they found that West Yorkshire Police were not fully investigating some 56% of crimes. Can you please ask the PCC what percentage of crimes in rural Kirklees are screened out? And also ask him who makes the decision to screen out crimes. Thank you.
Councillor Pinnock.
Thank you. You've raised a really good point there, something that I'm extremely concerned about. And other people in this chamber may have watched that programme. I think it was Monday night. There was also some more information that was given on Look North about concerning figures. So it's something I'm more than happy to take back and get some information on, because I also would like to know the answer to that question. Thank you.
Can we move on to item 14? We've only got 5 minutes, so we'll go through, and I think it's up to you guys if you want to. No? We can finish early if you want. Huh? Yeah, for a chair.
Suspend standing orders. This motion has been brought to council 3 times, and we okay. No, excuse me. The people of Flockton deserve to be heard, and this motion has been to council 3 times.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. We'll go to the vote and thank you. See what the members are saying. Who's seconding that? Yeah, can you go on your consoles and go to the vote? Can we have a point of clarification from... No, I think first meeting. Can I just say it's 9 o'clock, so meeting dismissed. 9 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock. Is it? I don't know.